Okay. Okay, there was no audio on the live stream, so I have just fixed that. So we'll probably start again. Coin has joined. Let me also kind of invite Coin to co-host if she has time, or whosoever wants to co-host. Please feel to take the speakers and whatnot. So let me just start again. Okay. The as you say, the presentation's topic is the heading is very provocative. But Indian death squads and Charlie Kirk's assassination. So you might say, what do I mean by Indian death squads? And I know to some of you this might be a surprising heading, but I promise you, if you stay back for like 20-30 minutes, I will present to you startling evidence that cannot be refuted, which will prove to you, as it has proven to me, that in case there is any foreign government involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, there is a very high likelihood that the number one suspect on that list will be the Indian plus Israeli agencies. And you just watch the evidence that I'm going to show to you, which probably some of you have never heard of, and as American patriots, and has been hidden from you, because you looked at your surroundings and looked at the Indian diaspora, which looks very benign and helpful, and then like, how come the Indians be even involved in such a horrendous crime? So, with that being said, I have just to lay down. We are live streaming on Twitter. We are also live on Instagram. We also have a Twitter space, so you can ask us questions through the presentation, um, either on the Twitter space, or you can ask us questions by joining us the live stream or the Twitter space. Feel free to join in case you want to ask questions. I'll give a presentation to begin with to lay down some of the startling evidence about Indian government hand in terrorism on American soil. And then in the end, we'll just open it up for everybody to pitch in. Okay. So that being said, if you can follow me, if you can see me, this is the slide. If I tell you that prior to 911, tell me which country was found guilty of the biggest act of aviation terrorism in human history. You won't be able to guess the name. The names that might come to your mind are things like Iran, Russia, maybe ISIS, or Osama, or some terrorist Islamic group. But the reality is that prior to 911, the biggest act of aviation terrorism, in which there is now irrefutable evidence that Indian agencies were the masterminds and behind it, was the Air India 182 Kanishka bombing. It's a Air India flight which was bombed by the Indian agencies to discredit some of the Sikh militants who were fighting against, the Indian occupation of their land, and is considered the biggest act of aviation terrorism, and is something that you guys should definitely get educated about, because there is one. You can go to my Twitter profile, and I have a lot of threads, and I have very recently started. I can tell you there's a new, what you say, there's a new Twitter account, Air India Justice, Air India Flight 182 Justice. You guys can follow this, if you can see it, where I'll be posting a lot of evidence of the Indian hand. So that's one Twitter account to follow if you want to know more about, how come India did that. So that's one. So to start you off with, and then there is this complicated history of India and animosity of India with United States and America. Okay, it is a well documented history. And Unfortunately, with the recent influx of Indian immigrants who generally come on H-1B visas, doctors and engineers, you feel like this is a very benign group of people, so how can an Indian state be so bad? But there's a huge difference between Indian states relationship with the US And if you will not know, the country, the state which has voted the highest against United States in UN is India. You would have never guessed that name, but that's a fact. India was has been conducting, basically funding the entire Russian effort against Ukraine. It is also a big funder of Iran. There is a lot of evidence as well as speculation that behind Iranian nuclear proliferation, the Indian agencies are having some kind of a hand. So, and even within India, while you don't see that here outward in the Western society, but within educated middle class Indian society, West or America is generally seen as an enemy, not as a friend. Okay, then you will probably not be aware that the Indian government has been running death squads, and I am not joking, literally death squads on American soil for past 4 years, which have been documented, not just documented. There are court cases going on where there are agents of the Indian government, intelligence agents who have been caught, extradited from different countries to US, and are actually undergoing trial in courts like in New York and New Jersey. There are highest level of commission of reports that have been published in Canada about India conducting terrorist acts on the Canadian soil, and we'll go through all of that evidence. But so that's that, and let me kind of show you some of that thing through my Twitter account. Okay, let's just go through some of these things, and let me save my screen. And I think the easiest to look at the terror acts and what India has been doing here will be to go through some of the profile I have, some of the things that I have on my Twitter account. Okay, so here is, you know, many people might not know that India was accused of murdering, not accused, like India, we have people in custody who are not totally involved, of murdering a Sikh, a Canadian Sikh on Canadian soil. His name is Hardeep. His name was Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And thereafter, the Canadian government has kind of cut all the ties with India for some period of time. There was a high level commission of inquiry which was kind of also set up. The Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau actually stood on the floor of the Parliament accusing India of not just running death squads but also interfering politically in the electoral politics of Canada. So let me show you some of the evidence of that here. Let me bring it up. And once these this there's some great articles that were written in Washington Post, in Economist Time, on how India is running these death squads. Here is a good one from the Financial Times. Let me just share my screen here that you guys can probably see. Okay. This was published in Financial Times, but you have articles on all major newspaper where Joe Biden raised concerns of New Delhi involvement with India's Narendra Modi in September. This is New Delhi involvement in a plot to kill American Sikhs on American soil, and the plot was uncovered by FBI is just mind-boggling. Okay, is a small word. So basically, FBI uncovered a plot in 2020, late 2023, somewhere around November of 2023, that the Indian government is hiring all kind of criminals, um, drug peddlers, um, gang members, and giving them contracts to murder an unlimited number of American citizens. Most of the citizens on that list were American Sikhs who were critical of the Indian government for the human rights abuses and the rights of the Sikhs in India. But like the list that the Indian government had was kind of unlimited, and they had a whole network of multiple assassination squads, not just one. What the FBI investigation revealed was there were multiple assassination squads that were running simultaneously, and and to kind of murder multiple Sikhs in one go. And their plan was to murder almost 3 to 4 Sikhs every month. Okay, and I'm trying to kind of show you, like, once this kind of came out, then in Canada there was a hue and cry because the actual one of the Sikhs who was killed was a Canadian Sikh, and in Canada there was a Foreign Interference Commission that sat down. We also had an RCMP commissioner come out and give a devastating press conference. It was startling press conference wherein they basically accused the Indian government openly, without mincing any words, that hey, this is how the Indian government is running the death squad. And while we are at it, I have lost the link to that particular press conference, but let me see if I can find that. Okay. So while all that was going on, what India did was India did not relent or did not change its policy. While there was, all kind of, diplomatic pressure from Canada and America for India to desist from, these kind of activities, India just never bothered to listen. Okay, and they kept doing it. We know that because as we talk currently, there are multiple American citizens as well as an unspecified number, but we know that that number definitely runs in double digits, if not triple digits, of unspecified number of Canadian citizens who are on warnings that there is imminent threat to their life from the death squads that India is running. Okay, and this is where I'll just show you some of these things. Okay, this is the ongoing investigation on criminal activity. This is a official Canadian government investigation. Ongoing investigation on violent criminal activity linked to the government of India. And in this inquiry, no less than the Prime Minister of Canada gave statements. And so it is not just this. What India did was, and here is that, this slide kind of shows you the FBI investigation, the how it kind of linked. These were the local gangsters who were involved on the left side, how they were linked to serving intelligence officials of the Indian state, and how they were directly taking orders from people in the highest levels of the Indian government, which includes their home minister, prime minister, their NSA, and whatnot. And this is very recent, okay? And lo and behold, I'll show you a quick video that the sway of the Indian death squads on the American soil was such that you couldn't even write about it in the. I would say couldn't even today, even if you write about it or you talk about that India is conducting uh, you know, um, terrorist acts on American soil, you immediately become a target of the those death squads. And the journalists are living in fear. The many of the Indian diaspora, especially the Sikhs, are living in fear of these death squads. And I'll show you that actually CBC for once CBC made some good work. CBC made a documentary on these criminal death squads being run by India. The name of the documentary was Contract to Kill, and it was awarded the best political documentary at the Canadian Screen Awards. And just listen, the whole team could never come to take that award. The team couldn't even publish the names of the people who were involved in making that documentary because they feared that the Indian state is going to get them killed. Okay, just listen to this and make up your mind what's going on.
The Canadian Screen Award goes to The Fifth Estate, Contract to Kill.
say. It's for me, it's difficult to be here because this is my last story for the Fifth Estate. I retired a couple of months ago. When we were doing this, so it's bittersweet. But you've made this a wonderful memory for me. So thank you.
It's hard to follow a living legend like Bob in speaking. I feel like the act of the Beatles in some ways. But I want to thank all the people behind this who made this story happen. The producer Rana Syed, the executive producer Alia Davidson. I also want to thank some of the management at CBC who have stood behind the Fifth Estate. We are the last, along with APTN Investigates, we're the last programs of this kind standing in this country. And these are important programs because we expose the bad guys and hold them to account in many ways. So these programs are important. I want to thank, as I said, CBC management for staying with us. And finally, I want to thank some of the people that were in this documentary who spoke to us even though their lives were in danger, because the story is about a foreign government, India, that assassinates people in other countries. In this case, it was Canada and the US. And it was very courageous of them to speak to us, to tell their stories for us, given that they are in danger potentially. So I want to thank them as well.
Yeah, there are various ways you can predict what a production cycle is going to be like at the Fifth Estate. When the unit manager calls you in and asks you to give her your relatives' names for next of kin on the production insurance, that's one. In this case, it went even further. They brought in risk assessment, who are the guys you go to when you're going to war. And we were told that they had good information that there was indeed a contract to kill, and that it would not only be the members of the Sikh community who would be in danger, but anybody close to them at the time. Now, Dave McIntosh, our cameraman, basically was embedded with the guy who was the focal point of this assassination plot. And he went to work every day. He had no idea that he was facing down something like that. The other people, our Andy, our second camera, well, we mentioned Rana, our editors. I mean, no one in this case would have been immune had they decided to do something. Morna and Jeff are two production editors. So thanks especially to them. And they're not here because their names have never appeared in the credits to protect them. It was assumed that was the best way to protect them from whatever the Indian government had in mind. So in absentia, I think we accept this for those guys. Thank you.
So just to highlight, okay, this is just, and this is a very recent event. We're talking about, I think, 6 months back. A documentary gets made on the factual case wherein FBI has declared evidence that Indian state was involved in murdering this Canadian citizen. CBC, a government-funded agency, decided to do a documentary based upon facts, and they literally had to sign off insurance. They had to bring in risk assessment. Um, and as the producer called out, they had to hide all the names of the people who were involved in making that documentary. So this is a documentary which was made in which no credits were given. And the reason was that they had good reason to suspect that the Indian death squads that the Indian government is running in Canada and US might very well target the members of this documentary team. And their only crime would be to be a member of the team which is making a documentary on killing of a Canadian citizen. So I wanted to highlight this so that you understand to what extent the Indian death squads on the American and Canadian soils are operating, and how serious this threat is, that it can force a government funded documentary to literally having to make it kind of under the cover, hiding their name, getting insurances and whatnot. Okay, and this was not without any reason, because to my knowledge, based on my discussions with some of the law enforcement people, the Indians are hiring all kind of criminals. They have Russians in bed with them. The Israelis have joined hands with them, and they basically are targeting anyone who says or does anything in the Western society which works against the interest of the Indian government. Okay, so we'll come back. Why would Charlie become suddenly a target then of the? Did he do something which could put him in the crosshairs of the Indian government? And we'll talk about it. And when the India has not only been murdering some of the Canadian and American citizens, it has been boasting about it on their national TV, because many of the Americans, we don't understand the Indian languages. But if you go and watch the Indian national TV, they were actually, the whole government setup has been boasting about, that, hey, yes, we are killing Americans and Canadian, anybody who is speaking about it. And I will show you a clip of one of the top most quote unquote media personalities today. He's a retired army officer of the Indian Army, who is now a media, you can call it a mogul, or the biggest YouTuber or whatever you call him in India. He has direct access to the Prime Minister of India. He's considered to be the mouthpiece of the Indian government, and you see how he's boasting about that, yes, they are running death squads in America. Okay, I'm going to just play this clip for you guys to just see, and then you can understand where we are with the Indian death squads. Okay, let me start it.
इंडिया ने मार दिया, निज्जर को मार दिया, बोलो क्या करोगे? और जितने भी हैं कनाडा में, एक एक मैं बता रहा हूं, तुम भारत के खिलाफ जबान खोलोगे, भारत के खिलाफ एक्टिविटी करोगे तो देखना, कनाडा तो बिक चुका है, कनाडा की कोर्ट्स बिक चुकी हैं. Canadians have, unfortunately, Canadians are living in a country that has gone to the bloody dogs. दोस्तों एक बात बताना चाहते हैं, तुम्हारे 10 और निज्जरों को ठोकेंगे, बताओ तुम क्या करोगे? और उसके जो खालिस्तानी है, मैं खालिस्तानियों की बात कर रहा हूं, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट खालिस्तानीज, राइट? खालिस्तानियों को यहां पे अगर कोई मिल गया पंजाब में, उसको भी कर देंगे. जो देश के खिलाफ काम करेगा, कहीं पर भी हो, वो यहां पे हो, बाहर हो, कहीं पर भी हो. क्यों कनाडा वाले तुमने, और यहां पे तुमने उस आदमी को प्रधानमंत्री बना रखा है जो कहता है भारत इंटरफेयर करता, करेंगे बेटा, तेरे इलेक्शन में करेंगे इंटरफेयर. तू बता तू क्या करेगा, ये बात बता, तू बता. तेरे निज्जर को भी ठोकेंगे, तेरे इलेक्शन में भी इंटरफेयर करेंगे, राइट? चीन ने करा, मैं बता रहा हूं, हम लोग ना, मैं आपको हमला करते हैं तो भाग यहां से, करते हैं और करेंगे. इंडिया को भी यही रुख अपना, ये नहीं मानेंगे जब तक आप एग्रेसिवली इनके साथ डील नहीं करोगे. इनके पकड़ो कॉलर, इनको नालियों में घसीटो, तब ये जाके बात मानेंगे. तो ये ऐसे नहीं मानने वाले. अब तो ट्रूडो, तू तो गया, मैं बता रहा हूं, तू तो गया, और मैं आज प्रिडिक्ट कर रहा हूं, तू तो गया. तू मई तक रुक बेटा, मई तक रुक ना. तेरी सरे बाजार कपड़े फड़वा के बेइज्जती करवाई ना. मेरा नाम गौरव आर्य, भी तो देखना. भी सतीश कुमार जी हैं. मैं एक बात बताऊं आपको, ये मेरी फिलॉसफी है लाइफ की, कि कुछ लोग होते हैं सुअर, वो सिर्फ डंडे की भाषा समझते हैं, वो पोलाइटनेस नहीं समझते. हम लोग गलत भाषा बोल रहे हैं, ये नहीं समझेंगे पोलाइट भाषा. इनको जब ठोकोगे घर में घुस के, इनकी गुत्थियां पकड़ के, इनके कॉलर पकड़ के, इनको नाली में घसीटोगे, तब ये तुम्हारे सामने हाथ पैर जोड़ेंगे, तब पैर छुएंगे. आपने देखा है किस तरीके से चाइनीज के सामने बिहेव करते हैं, किस तरीके से मिमियाते हैं. चाइनीज के सामने मिमियाते हैं लोग. कभी देखा रशियंस के सामने मुंह नहीं खोलते, क्योंकि चाइनीज नो कि इनके साथ कैसी लैंग्वेज बोलनी है. और जो अमेरिका में कहते हैं इसको मारने की कोशिश करी पन्नू को, तो क्या हुआ? तो क्या हुआ यार? आप कह रहे हो पन्नू को मारने की कोशिश करी, ये मर जाता अभी तक। पन्नू would have been as dead as a bloody fish. और मेरे हाथ में किसी भी प्रकार की ताकत होती भारत में, आई एम नॉट अ पॉलिटिकल पर्सन, ना मुझे पॉलिटिक्स में इतना कोई इंटरेस्ट है, ना कोई नॉलेज है। अगर आज मेरे हाथ में ताकत होती ना, पन्नू वुड हैव गॉन 5 years बैक। पन्नू को निपटा देता मैं बहुत पहले। लेकिन यू कांट स्पीक अगेंस्ट इंडिया यार। देखो, ऐसा एक लेवल तक ठीक है, एक लेवल तक फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन है, लेकिन खालिस्तानी कुत्ते हैं। समझ गए आप मेरी बात? यही ट्रीटमेंट आपको खालिस्तानी को देनी है। दीज आर मैड डॉग्स, दे नीड टू बी पुट डाउन। Arm yourselves. And I am telling everybody there, all Indians, arm yourselves. Legally हथियार खरीदिए कनाडा में और तैयार हो जाइए। इनके साथ शोडाउन आपका होने वाला है। और जिस दिन शोडाउन होगा ना, पुलिस की ओर मत देखना। The cops are compromised in Canada. ये सारे के सारे compromised हैं।
Okay. So just wanted to show you this clip. This particular person is supposedly today the biggest media personality in India. He probably outweighs what Tucker Carlson is in US. He's probably like Tucker Carlson multiplied by 100. Okay, that's what this person is. And many of you might not have understood Hindi with the language he was speaking, but if you see the subtitles, if you watch it, there are subtitles on the bottom. He's basically saying, we are running death squads on Canada and American soil. We will run it. We don't care. Anybody, any American who speaks against us, we're going to take him. We're going to assassinate him. America can do nothing. And yes, he's admitting that this allegation that is against India, that they have murdered a couple of Canadian Sikhs, and it's true that yes, we have murdered him, and we will murder more if if they don't shut up. Basically, they don't stop speaking against the Indian state. So I wanted to show you this to kind of have you a sense that the level of impunity and what you say, fearlessness in that sense, like they feel like they have the license to and they have been given this kind of a freeway license to kill American citizens or Canadian citizens, and they have done it and they have admitted it. So, and this video is not very far back. This is I would say around 8-9 months back. I think this is the video that I downloaded, and let me show you more. Okay, it's not just this. There's a lot more here that we need to kind of know what India is doing here. Let me show you. So it's not just these death squads only. Okay, the Indian government has been also creating a lot of trouble in UK. In UK, they were also accused of murdering a couple of UK citizens, but they were also murder in a police report that there was like there were some Hindu terrorists which were sponsored by the Indian government, which was actually involved in inciting communal riots in London. So they meddled in the polls, and you can see on my screen. They also were involved. There was a huge Hindu-Muslim riots in London. The report basically that came out from UK said that that whole rioting that happened in London was planned and executed by the Indian agents and Indian agencies. And I'm just walking you a couple of these things. This is another video, a bomb blast. And in India, the Indian agencies kind of using Hindu extremists to do terror acts is pretty common. It's known, they indulge in all kind of stuff. Here is this April 11, an Indian origin man was arrested in Canada for hate attack at a mosque. On May 23, an Indian origin man rammed a truck into barricades at the White House, wanting to assassinate voters. There's a UN research report which basically counted for the Indian hand in different terrorist activities in Asia. And there is this what you see right now is in India, it is very normal for the Indian state to pick up Sikh youth and murder them. So this is one of those Sikh youth who was recently murdered. Um, yeah, here's a very interesting, video that came out of Sarah Adams, who is a CIA, ex-CIA agent, and she basically revealed that India was behind many of the terror acts that were happening within Afghanistan, Pakistan, as it was funding many of the Islamic terrorist groups within Afghanistan, including ISIS. That it was paying out millions of dollars to these Islamic terrorist groups to target anybody who the Indian government did not like or had a grudge with. So just to kind of highlight, that the Indian hand in terrorism is not just in West, it is also in Afghanistan to a very big margin. India has a huge presence in Afghanistan. Okay, and within India, the Indian agencies are notorious for propping up Hindutva, right-wing Hindu extremist groups to target minorities and do their bidding. And this particular video is, where one of their biggest Hindu terrorist groups called RSS actually officially released a document coaching Hindu males how to target minority non-Hindu girls, Muslim girls, the Sikh girls, how to target them, how to convert them, etc., etc. This is like par for the course in India, okay, just to kind of say. And okay, here's a couple of other things that kind of show you the Indian involvement here. Um, Here is Manveer Singh. He's a very prominent Sikh activist. Just to highlight, he's not the only one. Um, there are many, many more like him who have received, a warning from FBI that they have a confirmed threat to their life by the Indian government in New York City. In New York City, he writes. Okay, um, and yeah, so this is just one of the many activists who got these threats. Um, Here is an event which is now becoming normal. I think this was somewhere in November 2024 when a mob of thousands of Indian Hindu extremist groups who gathered together and they started attacking the Sikh gurdwaras in Canada. And this is a video of some of those videos which are from that event. um, and where is this? Okay, and let's play this guy. Yeah, so let me show you a couple of the. Yeah, this is so not just this, the death squads. There's actually a DEA threat assessment that happens every year. This is the agency which Tulsi Gabbard heads today, which has all the intelligence agencies of US kind of combine and send their intelligence to this agency, and this agency basically then creates every year a threat assessment of the different threats that US is facing, and lo behold, in that report, you know India is named as the number one state sponsor of fentanyl precursor into US. Okay, so for fentanyl, the fentanyl crisis, basically the report says that it is being fueled by some hostile state actors, specifically India, and that India is the biggest source of the fentanyl precursor into US, which is coming into US through various subversive means. And many of those actors are mostly and many times backed by Indian state agents. This is the evidence that our agencies have, that the Indian state is involved in directly pushing fentanyl into America. You guys can go and Google it and read that report. Um, okay, so this is this is an interesting one. The Indian state has gotten so emboldened with murdering Americans that they're prominent members of the civil society in India. They don't even now consider it as if this is a big deal. Okay, here is this guy Shri Moy Talukdar, and and he is a big social media handle and connected with the government of India. You can go and check his Twitter profile, and and he is openly boasting on Twitter, and this tweet has still not been taken down. And he's saying we will take out more of the Khalistani gang, which basically the American sex members who harm India's interest, sitting on your country's soil, and you guys can do nothing about it. Cope. And he's not just one. It's the Twitter is filled with and he. Oh yeah, this guy is actually deputy executive director of First Post. Okay, he's not a small guy, and he was also a deputy news editor for the biggest newspaper in India, the Times of India. And it's not just him; even their generals and all, they basically openly boast, that that they are basically involved in terrorism on American soil. Okay, this is another one. Apparently, the leader of the third largest political party in Canada is somebody that the Indian government doesn't like. His name is Jagmeet Singh. So the Indian government had sent the death squads to murder the political leader of the third largest political party in Canada. And he basically, his name is Jagmeet Singh, and he lived literally, he's even right now living out of his basement. He's a family man with kids, wife, but he cannot have any normal life because his life is under constant threat by the Indian death squads which are roaming around on the streets of Canada right now. And this is, I just pulled this tweet from this publicly known, this Twitter profile has millions of followers. He's an ex-Indian Army officer. It's an open secret that he works for India's intelligence agencies. He has millions of followers on the Twitter, and he's totally connected with the Indian state. And look what he's writing, okay? And he's responding to Jagmeet Singh directly on Twitter. Look at the audacity. No, Jagmeet, you can't do anything to the Indian PM. What you can do, avoid going out of your house, but if you have to, always remain alert and aware. Increase your security, hire bodyguards, bulletproof cars. Don't let them meet you, Niger. Basically, don't let them kill you the same way we have killed Niger. Do you understand what I am saying? Here is like um, an army officer of India who is one of the biggest social media handles in India, a blue tick, known to be working with the intelligence agencies. They have this audacity and they've been doing it. And, Elon Musk has been watching this on the side. It's been kind of quite, funny. That's it. Okay. And then not just that, the one of the another seditious things that the Indian agencies did was they weaponized their diaspora. Okay, so India has huge. The Indian state has a lot of what you call quote unquote Indian nationalistic elements. They have pumped into US in last 5 years, and they have basically weaponized that diaspora. And the way I think, if you guys remember, and that diaspora has brought huge political influence to the Indian state. Which Indian state? That's why Indian state is able to get away with the death squads. That's why you guys don't know about all this, because no media is allowed to talk about it. No senator can say anything against India. And if you ask me why would no senator be saying anything against India? Just go and call a senator. Okay, call a senator's office and just tell me, listening to the voice of the person who picks up, the ethnicity and where that person is coming from. Every single senator. And go and look at almost major senators and the constitution of their vote in their state. And in all the swing states, you will see the biggest swing vote is the Indian diaspora. So the reality is that almost all the senators, their election to Senate is now controlled by the Indian state and their agencies. And because not everybody is diaspora is Indian nationalists, obviously there are like when meeting people, but it is also a fact that a vast majority is Indian or Hindu nationalist, and in their mind they love India, the Indian state. They don't like the concept of America, and they want the Indian state and Indian civilization, quote unquote, to prevail. So so that political influence is why all these death squads of India is able to run death squads. India is able to get a murder any American they want to. They can murder even the highest of political leaders in America and Canada, and you as American patriot won't even know about it. Okay, no, because nobody will tell you about it. No newspaper can easily write about it, because the moment you do that, you will get targeted by a couple of things. You will get targeted by uh, the Indian diaspora element, which is sympathetic to India, which is now kind of infiltrated or control almost the entire media industry in US, the tech industry, as well as the finance industry. But again, I want to underline, I'm not saying all the Indians are like that, but like a vast majority is. It's a fact. And I'll just show you, you say, why is the vast majority like that? What evidence you have, just to give you a sense, okay? Just to give you a sense how vitriolic this Indian diaspora is uh, towards American interest and how they work for India. Here is actually an interview of a vice president of Oracle. He's an ex-VP of Oracle, an American citizen. But just listen to him, the amount of hate he has. Um, but I'll hold on to this video. I think we'll come back. And but I just wanted to kind of walk you through some of these things. Now we'll just take some speakers and maybe start a quick discussion. Coin, do you want to take a so after all this, what I wanted to kind of, my hypothesis is this, okay? Like, if there is a foreign government involved in assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is that government which can have the motive? Secondly, which can have the motive, which has the track record, and which has the means? India and Israel fit totally into that lobby. Charlie Kirk, while being a conservative, lately he has been asking very, very tough questions on Israel and Israel's policy in Gaza. And very recently, he had started touching a very, very hot topic, which the Indian state just doesn't let anybody touch. Because the moment you touch it, they come against you with such vitriol. They activate all their agents, which is what? Which is H-1B visas. So you'll be surprised to know that the Indian state is a big champion of H-1B visa. It wants all its best people to leave India and come to United States. Why? You be my guest, okay? Just I hope you have this knowledge to understand why they want to do that. And so Charlie Kirk recently has been questioning, and we can see it on his profile, that he has been questioning the Indian uh, the H-1B visa, and he has also been questioning what happened in the recent events in Gaza. And so, to me, that any big personality like Jagmeet Singh did something way less. Jagmeet Singh never even publicly criticized India for anything. India just assumed that he might be anti-India, and they just started after his life. So now imagine if you're Charlie Kirk and you are publicly questioning India and H-1B visas, and you are publicly questioning Israel. To my mind, you will become an immediate target of the Indian death squads. Okay. And here is the tweet. I'm looking for Charlie's tweet, which was just a couple of days before, regarding the H-1B visas and also regarding Israel. So if So to me, if there's a foreign government involved, there's a good chance that Israel and India. And another thing that we have to factor in mind that Israel and India, when it comes to operations within, they have very deep military ties. And when it comes to running operations, clandestine operations on American and Canada soil, they totally cooperate with each other. Okay, they're like chalk and cheese in that manner. There was a recent Sikh active, not activist, but a Sikh name, notorious name called Sukhi Chahal, who also died under mysterious circumstances. And there's a lot of speculation, that who was behind his family members claim he was murdered by India. There's obviously in that case we don't have any FBI charge sheet or indictment, but yeah, that's kind of a very recent case, and that is happening because there's a lot of coordination between Israelis and Indians, and many of these tactics that Indians are learning is basically being taught to them by Israel. So with that in view, I'm speculating. It is speculation. Definitely it is. There is no evidence I have, no smoking gun I have, which I can look at and say, "Oh, this is exactly what happened." But I think it's a reasonable hypothesis, given India's track record, given the amount of terrorism India has been perpetrating in United States as well as Canada with impunity and celebrating that if they and in this case they had the motive, what is the probability that one of their death squads kind of got activated and were utilized for this? uh, Again, once all the facts will come out, we'll see. But I also wanted to take this opportunity. Okay, it's not just about maybe India has nothing to do with it. Let's take it. But to me, this is also an opportunity to educate our fellow patriots that, hey, our country has been infiltrated totally by some of these third world countries who are brazenly running death squads here. Okay, and anybody could be their target. It will not just be Sikhs, American Sikhs. You could be their next target if they don't like what you're saying against their government. So, so I think this was a Charlie Kirk's unfortunate assassination kind of gave us an opportunity to talk about what is happening within our country, and that we need to kind of come together as people, as a nation, to put an end to this nonsense and gain our sovereignty back. Because India is definitely not treating America or Canada as a sovereign nation. It's treating it as if it's backyard that it can go and murder anybody here. And unfortunately, our politicians are so damn corrupt, so compromised, this Washington swamp, that in spite of being the biggest military power in the world, we can do nothing about it. Okay, we can just sit around and watch other Americans getting killed or murdered by a third world shithole. With that being said, Ravan Pari, what do you think? What do you think? What are the chances that in Charlie Kirk's assassination? Do you think India and Israel had any motive? Let's start from there. Would they be happy or would they be sad on the murder of Charlie? Okay, there are a couple of other speakers. I'm just sending you guys speaker requests. Please take these requests. Deep Sharma. I don't know who Deep Sharma is, but I gave him. Is Deep Sharma an okay profile?
Hanji, Hanji, you guys continue and I'll talk out after.
Okay, got it. Hey, Rich, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, Harjeet Singh Ji. I do want to share something with you. This was posted on September 10th. India just signed a bilateral investment treaty with Israel during a genocide with the murderous colonizer and occupier entity. Basically, so India and Israel do have a really good relationship And just just a few days ago, 2 3 days ago, they signed a bilateral investment treaty, so they have future plans, and that's that could be a reason. I mean, think about it. Who knows? They could have signed a multi-billion-dollar deal, and one of the things is, hey, take out Charlie. He's speaking against us. You know what I mean? It's totally plausible.
Yeah, no, yeah, you brought it up. Like yeah, it's a like while the the moment, and this is where like how is Israel and India help each other. Like America, we were putting pressure on India through these tariffs, so India stops financing the war against Ukraine, and who comes to rescue Israel, and not just that. Very recently, I think when Israel attacked Qatar, Qatar arrested I think 8 Indian agents who were working in Qatar for the Indian agencies on behalf of the Israelis. So yeah, it's kind of I think the nexus between Israel and India is so obnoxious and uh, so sinister. It won't be beyond me that they basically uh, will collude to murder anybody who because Charlie Kirk was, was but not a nobody. Okay, Charlie Kirk was going to be the next president of United States. I had no doubts. The way he was organizing, the zeal with which he was working, he was going to really bring out a revolution in America. And then that kind of a guy, turning like anti-India and anti-Israel, would have been the end of Israeli and Indian influence in United States of America. The end. Okay, the moment Charlie Kirk turned against you, India and Israel were gone out of American sphere. So to me, that gives a tremendous amount of motive to Israel and India to knock him out. What they say, nub it in the bud, because the moment it grows, after that, it's very difficult to take out Charlie. Yeah, Chotaji, you had your hand raised. Sorry, go ahead.
Adibhai, I wanted to mention, so I saw a video of Charlie Kirk where he was talking about that he went to Israel and the Gaza border was just only 45-minute flight away from Jerusalem, I think. So he said that if you see the border, so at every corner, every part of the border, there's a 19-year-old IDF soldier guarding the border with a machine gun. So you think the attack happened in October 2023. So it happened like that. So we have Mossad, that's like the top-notch intelligence agency of the world, right? So how did that happen? So he said that there must be a standby order given to the soldiers guarding the border. So the second thing is about India. So he said he was openly speaking against India for the H-1B visa. So we have a motive there. They have a motive to kill him.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think what you're talking about is the I saw that interview as well, and I think he basically he convinces you that it is impossible that this October, I think 7th October event, wherein the Hamas militants came in and killed so many innocent people and civilians. It could not have happened without the know-how and collusion of Israel. And he was speaking not out of hearsay. He was speaking out of his own experience of having visited Gaza and having seen how the things are. It is pretty much like Pahalgam, right? We know that Pahalgam in India, that was a false flag. It cannot happen. Like you can, it's full of army. Like you can't have 5 people coming in unchallenged and going away like after that unchallenged. And so I think Charlie, and a person like Charlie going against Israel, would have killed the Israeli lobby in America. And that gives a huge incentive to them to use and India to kind of collaborate in this. And I'll talk about this. I have looked at the video of the assassin, and there's some startling video. When I look at that video, Initially, when the shot was taken, some people were speculating, it's a sniper. Definitely, it is a sniper. But when I was looking at, hey, it's around 150 to 200 yards. You don't have to be a sniper to get good with that kind of a shot. Though under pressure, you really have to be. Like a 200-yard shot under pressure is not easy. But if you're a decent shot, even by luck, you can get it. But I saw the video now, the new video that came out of that guy escaping. You can make out that he is a trained guy. He is not, he is fit. He jumps from like 15, almost like 12 to 15 feet high with his bag in a way that only a trained soldier can do. Like he had some kind of training. He was not a nobody. We'll know more about that assassin and we'll talk about it. But I think he's been arrested, right? And we'll talk about it, who that guy is. But there's also this, we'll talk about Kash Patel and how Kash Patel's FBI is bumbling up deliberately this investigation. There are a lot of allegations on that side. We'll talk about it, but we have Deep Sharma's hand raised. Deep, go ahead.
I just wanna say, like, the way Charlie's talking against the like H1B and the Indians coming to US, and he was continuously speaking against the Jews and the Israel, and when he got shot, the way Netanyahu and the Israeli media just posted about that, it was just, you can say, just after blink of eye, right? They just started posting. Even the US media didn't even report it at that time. And second thing, I just wanna talk about the Indian and the Mossad relation. Like there is a place called Kasol in India. It's just top of the mountain, and you can even go there with your car. You can, if you wanna go over there, you can even go by your feet and go by a bike. There is a place called Kasol. Everybody can search it, and it's just close to the Pakistan and China border. And Mossad have a hub over there, and even Indians are not even allowed over there. And Mossad is preparing India for like two front wars, and there is a hub over there, and the Mossad IDF come over there. They after the war they stay there, and there you can see the boards over there. Even if you can even when you Google map it, and you can you do the 360 map over there, you can see, you can read the boards in the map. Indians are not allowed, and Israeli people stay over there. Yeah, thank you.
Got it. We have Jasveer who just joined. Jasveer, why'd you call? Why Fateh?
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਹੈ ਰੇਵੀ ਜੀ
ਸਿੰਘੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਡਾਇਲ ਇਨ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ. This is and I appreciate you kind of taking time out, but yeah, please go ahead. What's your views on this?
So I actually come to the same conclusions as yourself, but from a very, very different perspective. So with Charlie Kirk, what I saw was a very powerful force guy leading a movement, exceptional speaker, as a lot of these people are. You can't deny whatever you think of them, their ability to articulate and debate, especially in this specific format. People like him, Ken Dansoins, and many others is fantastic. And he was a leading star amongst that, no doubt. But I believe his force was fading, and that is based on seeing how he was viewed in a few different lenses. Now, one is the hardcore Trump base, which came from the idea that they are different from the so-called deep state, and they're going to expose things like the Epstein files. Charlie Kirk was a massive voice on that. And when Trump started speaking differently about the Epstein files, Charlie Kirk fell straight in line, and a lot of his fans got very upset about that. Now, there's obviously in the recent weeks, he was saying something different, maybe because of that pressure and backlash. He was saying release them in New York, which I believe, based on just a few things I read, that would be actually even more dangerous for a lot of people that are connected with Israel, given what we know about Epstein and a lot of which has been uncovered in recent years regarding his connections with Israel and Mossad. So his own fan base was turning on him at a certain point. At a similar level, just a couple of weeks ago, he was mocked greatly on South Park. He took it in great humor, and he's really good at handling these kind of things in the media. And he actually even embraced. I think he used it as his profile picture, the picture of Cartman, the famous cartoon character, portraying himself as Charlie Kirk. But essentially, they portrayed him as just like this idiot who was doing this gimmicky, really ridiculous style of debating. And I think a lot of people are realizing that's what it is. This whole thing where he sits up on stage and he calls up some 16-year-old, very confused person to have some nonsensical, to my eyes anyway, I don't want to be too harsh, but debates which are just really entwined in this kind of fake culture war. They don't have much substance beyond just the sake of debate. They're about a lot of theoretical things. He would have a lot of these types of debates and, just clip them and be like, yeah, look, crush the liberals. And the way South Park mocked him for that, I thought was uncovering that, a lot of people were getting a little bit fed up with the stick. And that's why they were creating new formats of it. Now you've got this 20 versus 1, this and that, the other. They're becoming a bit more outlandish and brazen because they know that the formula is running out a little bit. And I know, this event that he was assassinated outside, he was as popular as ever, it looked like. But nevertheless, South Park has always been a fantastic avenue of satire in the American pop culture sphere, and they were mocking him greatly. And I think that's for a reason. Along with that, like everyone is pointing out, he had these interviews with like Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, which to me was him acknowledging that he was fading in a certain way because he's flipped on the Epstein files and several other things, by the way, Venezuela, Iran, all lots of different things. He showed no integrity. That's the truth of the matter. You could see within the same week he was tweeting from one side of his mouth, then from the other side of his mouth, and a lot of his fans noticed that. So he was, I think, reverting to what Candace Owens does. And now you can either say it's a grift, or you can either say that it's them actually being a bit more authentic about towards either their fan base or maybe their own backgrounds and on positions they stand with. Either way, it doesn't matter. The end result is the same, that they were being more critical of Israel. And that's where Charlie Kirk seemed to be heading with these interviews that I mentioned, with all of these figures and various other comments. So many things people are pulling out now. So many things. The thing the other brother just said about his description of being in Israel and the October 7th attack, and it doesn't seem realistic, all of that stuff. So he was just a big threat. And because they were seeing this guy's fading. So what he's doing is what Candace Owens did, and he's reverting to something which is more critical of Israel rather than being more in favor of it. And there he became liability. He becomes more worthy to them. He has more value as a martyr than as a living person. Now, with that, the final thing I'll say, because I dragged on for a bit, is that the idea India was involved in this should not only not be dismissed, it should be readily brought up. And you're a very brave man, Adit, and honestly, much respect to you for bringing this up, because, not many people will. But let's just look at the facts here. They've had death squads roaming North America for a long time now. They've carried out assassinations across North America for time now. They've carried out gang hits as well. Look at the CBS article, which I often share, about targetings in Stockton and so forth. Not only that, the H-1B visa issue, which Charlie Kirk was really strongly against, that is worth so much to India. Because the incentive for Indians to get the hell out of India is one of the most motivational factors that Indians have for being loyal to the Modi regime. That's part. Don't ever think like that their attachment to Bharat Mata is that much. They want to get the hell out. So H-1B visa was a massive incentive. And also, when we're talking about just like workforce, cheaper labor for these massive corporations, tech firms, and all of that, the money that's involved is into the trillions at least when you're talking about this H-1B visa issue. And Charlie Kirk was very heavily against it. In fact, he maybe, contradicting what I said about invading, he was pushing one of the strongest movements against it, actually. And it was a very strong issue which wasn't going away really as much as Elon Musk and others wanted it to go away, and therefore maybe even wanted Charlie Kirk to go away with it. Who knows? That's just speculating. But I'll leave it there, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to jump in. But thank you for the space, George. And again, I just want to emphasize actually, you're very, with this respect Rajit Singh, just for the sheer courage to say this kind of thing, because there's powers that be, the way I just described India, they will be happy with the meetup. So much respect.
Yeah, no, कोई respect नहीं. Maharaj, this is our duty, as a Maharaj देखने के करने वाला. But I think what you're touching upon is the this H1B topic. Okay, if you are touching India wrongly on H1B visas, and if you are somebody who is very influential and can really turn half of the America against you, you will become an immediate target of the Indian death squads. You will. Because H1B visas is India's secret weapon against America. It is the weapon, as I said, Indian state has weaponized its diaspora and they exploit it as a fifth column to gain influence within Western society, specifically America. So India doesn't need huge armies; it can just send in huge number of people and make sure that most of them or majority of them, and I want to say it again, not everybody is an Indian nationalist who's coming from India into US. Many of them become very patriotic Americans, but it is a fact that 60 to 70% of them are Hindu Indian nationalist. And they don't have the good of America in their heart, which we know, and the Indian state knows it, and I know it because a couple of years back, I suddenly started seeing lot of Indian immigrants coming into US, and this I'm talking about 2019. Just COVID had just started, and it was visible to me. Like I was going on these matches to the Eastern Washington, and I used to stop at every single gas station because my truck gives like 13 miles per gallon. So I used to stop at every single gas station, and then the typically I had only one gas station in that entire 400-mile journey had Indians in it, or like quote unquote like people from the subcontinent. But like within a matter of 2 years, every single gas station just had people of Indian origin. And then suddenly in the companies I work with, I see like a lot of H1B, like it's a literal takeover of America by people from India, and from legal as well as the illegal routes, both of them. Okay, maybe more on the legal than less on the illegal. And then I called up a friend at that point in time who ex-army in India, who was then in a decent position in the Indian state, and we were just chatting. And I asked him that, hey man, what's going on? Why are so many Indians coming here? Like, is something wrong in India? And you know what his response was? His response was, no, it's good. We are doing it deliberately. It's good that so many Indians go there. I said, like, what are you saying, man? Like, well, if Indian, like your best brain is leaving and coming to US, there's something wrong in your country. But he was like, oh, we want to happen. And then what I saw was that most of this human trafficking from India into America is being run by the Indian state itself. And I'll just show you an article. Okay, this is on Asia Times. This is an event which happened in December 21. And if you are watching my live stream, okay, this plane, and this is not just one, there are multiple such flights which were taken down. This plane was taken down, I think, in France. It is some kind of a Russian airliner who the airplane was traveling from India via Europe to a Latin American country. And every single person, there were like 260 odd passengers, every single person on this plane was going to land, was being human trafficked. This took off from Delhi, the capital of India, and was going to Latin America. Every single person except the pilot and the crew, every single person was Indian, and every single person was supposed to get off in that Latin America country and then make that travel back into on foot into US by legally crossing the border. So this plane, the whole plane was supposed to be, landed in France, and then they had to arrange a court, and it kind of this drama went on for months, and then they had to deport everybody back, except some of the Sikh passengers, Sikhs who were going to be politically prosecuted. They were given asylum, but what I want to highlight to you was that this plane could not have taken off from India unless it was with the collusion of the Indian agencies. That it is the Indian state and Indian agencies which are running this huge human trafficking from illegal side as well as from the legal side, to get as many Indians into America as possible, because it gets them huge amount of influence within America. This is a huge national security threat, to my view. When I look at it, and look at how the so-called legal immigration is happening, okay, and Charlie Kirk was starting to question all this, and then there was this legal immigration, and we were being sold, oh, these are doctors and engineers, like it is good, they're coming to our country, they'll make us competitive, but like it's all a scam, and I'll show you why it is a scam. Here it is, and I just posted it, and I'll play this for you guys. This is one of the top businessmen in India. Okay, he's the cream of the cream, and he's not a nobody. And look at his story, how he got into US. Okay, and I'm going to just play that video for you guys. And,
I went to college in
sorry, what is that? Sorry, somebody's trying to say something. Okay, did somebody try to say something? Oh, if not, then we will continue, and I'll come to you non-state. I'll just play this a video a bit. So look at this video of this gentleman, and he's boasting how he scammed the visa system in to come through legal means. Okay, and this is probably the story of I don't know, like how many people. I won't say everybody, but like, see,
Duke in North Carolina,
US.
US.
How was it?
I loved it. No only family member in my generation that traveled abroad. I was hell bent on going to America. My father would never let me go. So he said, only way you can go to America is if you get a high score at SAT, minimum 1500 or 1600. Okay, how the hell am I going to get 1500 or 1600? So I hired somebody to go and do my SATs. Okay, if somebody else went and did my SATs, they got 1550 out of 1600. Great. Okay,
Somebody else did it for you.
in those days. You could get away with those days. So somebody else had his picture, my name, we created a driving license, it was done. Okay? It's coming at the story of my life. I can't change it. Went to school for me. Got 50, 60. I applied to every university. I get like, you name the university, I got in, because I had also done all my mark sheets from class 2 to 12 at 90% or above. With the PO box in Delhi, in Delhi in somewhere on the Cannot Place or something, Hindustan Times Cannot Place PO box number. Okay, I would create my own application. I printed my own certificates, I remember. Okay, so I went to every university. Now that wasn't
So you faked all your applications.
Oh, without doubt.
okay, so this is a person. First of all, he is. So as I was saying, that came legally, total scam. He basically saying he had somebody else give his SAT. He forged all his school certificates, mark sheets, and he has no shame about it. And now, not only that, he's boasting. And this podcast is 2 day old, okay, and he's talking on the biggest podcast in India today. This guy, this young boy who is interviewing this guy, he's very popular in India. Raj Shamani or something is his name. Maybe bigger than Joe Rogan today. And then he's boasting about it, and I'm telling you, he is being admired. Nobody, you will never see any Indian come here and say underneath this video, this is wrongly done, because there's no sense of morality there. Oh, this is a very smart act you did. So there's a huge question mark. What I was trying to tell you is that Many of these Indian nationalists are coming in by scamming the legal route as well as the illegal route, and they are kind of infiltrating into the Western society, and they become like pawns of the Indian state very easily. And we'll talk about why they become pawns of the Indian state, and why now in America, because of this infiltration, because of how much influence they have gained, you cannot have freedom of speech. You cannot even question it. You cannot question that, hey, Indian state is running death squads in America. The moment you highlight it, they will attack you from all angles. They will try to demonize you, call you a terrorist, and try to do all kind of fake reporting against you, take down your Twitter handles and God knows what. Like, many of my Twitter posts have been taken off, saying, hey, you can't talk about against India. And the same fear every senator in US is living today, because they can't talk against India. India is the holy cow, and India gets the license to operate death squads, and India will operate death squads, murder Americans and Canadians, and then do free trade agreements with our presidents. It's mind-boggling what's going on. So that's why, like, I have my apprehensions. Like, again, like, don't have a smoking gun. It's a speculation, and but it's a very reasonable speculation given the circumstances. That if there's a foreign government, India had the motive. You go ahead and check India on this, on H1B, and how they are scamming the system. Man, you become the number one target of the Indian death squads. Anybody who will do that. So if Charlie Kirk was touching that story, and Charlie Kirk could have turned the narrative totally against Israel's and India's infiltration, would that not make him a target of Indian death squads? I think it will. Anyways, we have the hand raised by non-state. Please go ahead, non-state.
Thank you, Harjeet. Thanks for giving the mic. So I just wanted to talk about the resistance or the growing anger against.
I went to college in Duke in North Carolina.
Sorry?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I just mistakenly.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of anger against people coming in, people migrating in. That's not only in US. It's in Canada. It's in Europe. I mean, even in some GCC countries, we are starting to hear some voices against immigration. But what I wanted to talk to you specifically was the point that you raised regarding the H-1B visa. Okay, so H-1B visa, the statement that you said was that, there is a danger of, Hindu nationalists coming into the US could threaten the fabric of society. If that was the true, then you have a valid point. But the thing is that if you look at the stats of the last 5 years, most of the H-1B visas, which are initiated by the US companies, which is not by the US government, US employer or a company goes and look at the whole talent pool in India, conducts a lots of interviews, and selects candidates from STEM areas, science and technology mostly, okay? And it has been granted to 4 states. First is Telangana, second is Karnataka, third is Tamil Nadu, and fourth is Andhra. None of them are BJP ruled states. So, like, BJP is supposed to be the Hindu nationalist party, but I say they have nothing to do with Hinduism. They are a hyper capitalist kind of a government. They are only into business, nothing else. Wherever they see profit, they will go into that. They have nothing to do with religion. That's my experience. But still, I respect this thing. So it has nothing. So this H-1B has nothing to do with any kind of religion or some kind of a religious scheme or anything. It is just that India has 1.4 billion people, and it generates a lot of STEM candidates. Science, technology, engineering, very highly specialized spirit, chip design, IT, biotech research, and all that. So when US employers go and do interviews, they get a large pile of qualified candidates with the requisite qualifications. And from that, they can filter out the best of the best. And these people, they can probably hire at 1/4 of the cost they would have to shell out in hiring somebody from one of the top Ivy League universities in the United States. So there's a cost benefit to that too. So
Got
that
it.
is why H1B is popular.
Got it. No,
The
I'll give
second thing
you.
I wanted to just
If you
I
can,
just want
just
to finish
no,
and
no,
say,
it's a good one. It's a good point. What I would say is, if you can hold on, I think it's a good discussion. Do you want to hold on to the second point? We can just discuss the first and do a bit of to and fro, and then go to the second
just
one.
I'll just finish in one second.
Okay, okay. No, no. Okay, go ahead. Take your time.
Just I'm just an offhand remark, but nothing important. The video that you played is of a fugitive in India called Mr. Lalit Modi. He's wanted in India, and he has gone and taken refuge in UK. And latest report is that he has taken some citizenship of some Pacific island. So he's wandered in India, and he's no longer in India, and he's a fugitive on the run. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay, yeah. So let me come back to the H1B. Okay, so good number of H1B visas go to people from the southern states, and for the benefit of my Western audience, why non-state was calling it out was the southern states are where you find less of these rabid Hindu nationalists, okay, or Indian nationalists. The southern states are not India. I don't consider them Indian. Very unique culture, very nice people, very hardworking, very honest. There is no doubt. Majority of them, but not their upper caste. In southern India as well, majority of the H1B visas are being monopolized by what we call South Indian Brahmins. Okay, again, like this is just oh my god. This I gave this person, Ramaji, can you remove this? There's some Indian national that we were talking. As is typical, if you have a space and we have a discussion going on, there's another some kind of an Indian nationalist who came in, and he basically just put like um, kind of just terrible stuff up on the wall, and like the whole Twitter is basically kind of vitiated by this Indian troll army, the Indian digital army, run by this Indian state. There's a Washington Post article where they speculated that there are more than 200 million unemployed Indian youth that the Indian state has employed for this kind of work. And Ravanji, are you there? Can you remove this stupid stuff this person has put up?
Probably I can remove. I can help you remove it. Hardeep Paji. Give me a
Okay,
co-host on that.
thank you. I'll let me give you co-host as well. Um, okay, I have to remove another co-host. So it says I have given co-host to two people, but I've given co-host to only one. So
Maybe remove him and then send it to me.
okay, let me remove Ravan from co-host JSKG, and I'll give you the co-host. Okay, and JSKG, if you can also check people, there are a lot of speaker requests. If you can check before approving them, that'd be super helpful. And
Sure.
okay, that being said, like coming to the H1B question, I think that's great that a non-state asked a question, and I want people to get educated about this nuance, because not everybody coming from India is same. Okay, India is a name of a continent; it's not a nation. But the fact is, the H1B has been monopolized by what I quote unquote call the upper castes of India, and it is the upper castes of India, this top 10%, 15% of the India, even north as well as south, which is the most rabid pro-India Hindu Indian nationalists. Generally, this bottom 85% of India, the lower caste, which form the 85% of the population, they are generally kept bereft of political power, and they barely make it to middle class. Most of them remain poor, and they are not the majority of the H1B. The H1B is primarily monopolized by this upper caste, and they are very, very anti-West and Hindu Indian nationalists. Doesn't mean some of the lower castes don't make it. I made it, but then still, the majority still remains heavily loaded by these. That's why I say not everybody coming on H1B is pro-India or Indian nationalist, or who wants to do harm to West, but a good number is. And I'm speaking for example, I'll throw you some numbers. I worked in a company, non-state. This company had an office in Bellevue. I no longer work for that company, and it's a South Korean big name. When I joined that company, I realized that within that company, 90% of the engineers are from South India, which is slightly higher. Generally, you see like, it's 50, 60% Indians, but you had 90% here, which was exceptionally high. Then I started noticing that out of that 90%, okay, Indians, most of them from South India, they were not from a representative of South India. Almost 80 to 90% of those engineers were Tamil Brahmins. And everybody in the top hierarchy of that company in that office was a Tamil Brahmin without exception. Without exception. Anybody above senior manager and above was a Tamil Brahmin. So, and as I became friendly with them, one of the guys, because I am a student of Indian scriptures, and this guy, all these Tamil Brahmins, they read a lot of Vedas and all that all the time. So he started. We used to have conversations on Veds and all the stuff and the ancient literature. We became very friendly. So one day, once I had his confidence, I asked him. I said, what is happening? Why is everybody, Tamil Brahmin? He told me, Harjeet, we look at the resume and we are just, we will only hire Tamil Brahmins. It's very clear in our mind. And then I asked him, why did you hire me, a Punjabi? Okay. And there were a couple of other Punjabis also he hired. He said, because you are also RN. We are also RN. So there is tremendous amount of nepotism and skew, and it will be interesting to actually get the data on this out of the H1B visas. How many are from the twice born Hindus? Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Baniya. Okay, and I can guarantee you out of my experience, maybe 80% of your H1B visas are coming from that particular group. Okay, and you and I both know where their political leanings are. That said, I want you guys to hear as an example, okay, how these very educated Indians are probably not all of them. I'm going to keep qualifying. I'm not saying everybody, okay, but this is a fact that within that group, the ones who are coming on H1B visas, if they are Hindu Indian nationalists, they are gaining positions of power in technology, in finance, in media, in politics. They are not like running small businesses or like a trucking business or a grocery shop. They are mostly in like high power, high money professions. And so they have disproportionate amount of power in the society. So today they might be 2% of the population, but they have power which probably is like 60 to 70% of the overall national power that they can harness. And look at, I just want to play a small video of a Indian Hindu nationalist who came to US, got the passport of America. He rose to the position of a vice president in Oracle. He has a huge YouTube channel and millions of followers in India. He lives in San Diego. Okay.
Harjeet Paji, can you please, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Can you please check your remove list? Is someone removing people from the space, or someone reporting to the space? Like that's why like people are getting out of the space.
You might want to end this and restart the space.
No, I'm not talking about me. I just got like 2-3 messages. Like they got removed from the space. So that's why.
Sanatanji, can you check?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, you continue, Harjeet Paji. Please continue.
Deep, nobody's removing. It's just because of I think this space is getting reported. You and I got kicked out.
You might want to end the spaces and restart it because that guy that came in, he posted all that bad stuff. So I think it's best.
That can be removed, Paji. But the thing is, I think this
I'm
space
removing
is
it.
I co-host can remove it. It doesn't matter. Like you're gonna restart the space and get the audience back.
He got it.
No, you don't. You don't have to restart the space. It's just getting reported, I guess, because even I got kicked out.
But like, if it is getting reported by the Indians, why are you getting kicked out? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. That's why I asked.
भाजी रिपोर्टिंग हो रही है इस पे भी ਤੁਹਾਡੇ क्योंकि मैं भी क्रैश हो गई मैं फिर दोबारा आया मतलब तुम तो बाहर हो गई मैं
Okay. Let me. No, but even if reporting, you shouldn't get.
it's
It also happened with me too. Like two or three times in airspace.
It's possible that they control, X in some ways. They are a bunch of engineers that work for X that are
Yeah.
Indians, so it's possible that they have like a mod access or an admin access, and they can just do stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. Anyway, if we'll continue, and Jessica, are you removing the stuff on the top?
Yeah, just that's why I just wanted to make sure. Like,
Yeah.
Deepaji, can you check the list? Like, if somebody got removed or something.
How do I check the list? Do I go to the people and then I say removed there?
Okay, just
Listeners, and then in the bottom, where should I see the people who got removed?
Just give me a moment. I'll check.
nobody was removed. Harjeet Paji, you continue, please.
Okay. I don't see anybody was removed. Yeah. Anyways. Okay, we are almost done cleaning up the top. Okay, awesome. Thanks,
Okay.
Nathan.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paji.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I want to play you this clip coming back to the topic, right? So this is a prime example, and I took his example because to people can relate with a real life example. A vice president, he runs a YouTube video called Sattalogy, upper caste Indian, typical, came on H-1B, became a citizen, lives in San Diego, has a house in San Diego, but see the amount of hate he has for America and how pro India it is. Okay, so I'm going to just play this so people kind of get and understand what we are dealing with here.
भी है कि they can't even manufacture shells. ये लोग का जितना भी वेस्ट का जो प्रोपेगेंडा है that is only on paper. जब आप इनसे सामने लड़ने जाएंगे तो आपसे संधि कर लेंगे. The moment you begin to fight, आपसे संधि कर लेंगे. सुभाष चंद्र बोस लड़ने के लिए आए, दोस्ती कर लिया. आजादी दे दो, भाग जाते. डरपोक है सारे के सारे. They are only good in Hollywood movies. So the biggest contribution of American superpower status is Hollywood movies, and reality on the ground is exactly opposite of Hollywood movies. America जहां भी गया पिट करा है. Now coming to, so I've covered this and I'm coming to the light, or Indian aircraft carriers are British aircraft carrier तो समुद्र में भी नहीं निकल पाता with 2 towers. British aircraft carrier to be on the British aircraft carrier में तेल नहीं है, मिसाइल नहीं है, तो बेटा तुम नाव की सैर करने निकले हो कि लड़ने निकले हो? अवश्य हमारी माएँ तो गीदड़ नहीं प्रोड्यूस करती हैं. जैसे अमेरिकन स्लोगन होता है पैक ऑफ वुल्व्स. वुल्व्स का क्या होता है? वुल्व्स जो है लाशें खा के घूमते हैं. When the lion is hunted, then wolves come to eat the kill. This is what the American foreign policy is. Pack of wolves. Everywhere when a lion is hunted, they go and eat the carcass. मरे हुए आदमी. हम लोग नहीं करते, हम वेजिटेरियन लोग. इसके बारे में बोलते भी नहीं थे. अब तुम खुल के बात करते हैं, बोलते हैं ठीक है निकाल दो हमारी सिटीजनशिप, आई डोंट केयर, है ना, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, राखे कृष्ण मारेंगे, मारे कृष्ण रखेंगे। तो इंडियन सोल्जर्स में अमेरिकन सील्स रिपोर्ट्स प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, सील्स आर द बेस्ट। सारे थुल मोटे आदमी कहां से बेस्ट हो गए? तुम्हारे पेट बाहर निकला हुआ है, कहां के सील हो गए? रशियन, है ना। अभी अमेरिकन सोल्जर तो ये पता लगेगा आई एम ए मैन और ए वुमन और ए ट्रांसजेंडर, ये प्रूव करेगा, कहां लड़ने जाएगा? पता वॉर के बीच में क्या बोलता है, आई एम ए ट्रांसजेंडर, आई हैव टू रिस्पेक्ट। सर तुम लड़ने गए हो, क्या करने का छक्कागिरी क्यों दिखा रहे हो वहां पे? आदमी की तरह बात करो भाई, या तो बोलो मैं आदमी हूं या महिला हूं, फिर आप बात करो आगे जाके। वो कंफ्यूजन नहीं है हमारी सेनाओं में, है ना। क्यों करके आपको बता रहा हूँ, एंड आई एम नेचुरली एंथुसियास्टिक अबाउट इंडिया। तो लगेगा कि मैं इंडिया के बारे में ही बात करूंगा, क्योंकि आई एम नेचुरली एंथुसियास्टिक अबाउट। दुश्मन को कभी भी ग्लोरीफाई नहीं करना चाहिए, नंबर 1 रूल है, चाणक्य का रूल है, चाहे वो कैसा भी हो। अमेरिका चाहे कितना भी दुख बना ले, अमेरिका कभी भी, हम लोग ढूंढते हैं अमेरिका काश इंडिया को तारीफ कर ले, क्यों करेगा भाई? तो दुश्मन है ना मेरा, क्यों करेगा? ये तो आपका गड़बड़ी, आपका मेंटल डिजीज है कि आप ग्लोरीफाई करते हो, मैं तो नहीं करता। What I have is the best, the greatest, the finest the world.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of show this. The idea was to give you a sense what, like, you might have, you might see doctors, engineers, and people. There's no doubt the people who are coming on H-1B visas, they are hardworking. Whether they are adding to U.S. society in the long run or not is a different question. But when you actually go and peel their hearts, you look at inside their heart, more often than not you will get a Indian nationalist like this. Not everybody. If somebody wants to put a gun on my head and say, Harjeet, tell me a number, I would say 60 to 70%, because I know that 80 to 90% are upper caste, and but many of these upper castes are coming from south of India as well, and in south of India you generally get some sanity, as non-state actor pointed out. There is definitely that difference is there, but there also you have a lot of Tamil Brahmins who come in, who basically just hate the idea of West, and they have in their mind this Indian civilization. Anyways, the uber point being this, that this highly skilled diaspora, the H-1B visa, is one of the biggest foreign policy or powers of statecraft that Indian state has available, and they are not going to let it go. Anybody who is going to touch and bring about any risks to that segment or that pipeline through which they are gaining influence within West, Indian state will come after them, kill them, murder them, whatever it takes. I have no doubts in my mind. And we have seen them, and they have proven that with by murdering many Sikhs, which I showed you the evidence. So if Charlie Kirk turns against H-1B visa and legal Indian migration, oh my God, you will be on the top of the list of the Indian death squads, in my opinion. Anyways, non-state, go ahead, please.
Thanks. So I actually listened to your points. You have a lot of valid points. I just wanted to, sort of attract your attention to one of the points that you made. You said that, you worked in Bellevue with the South Korean concern. And you're one of the lucky ones who got through the H-1B, but you were good to America. That's what I actually got from what you said, okay? What I want to ask you is that, did they give you the H-1B visa because you're a Punjabi, or they found that you are the right candidate who has the right skills for the right job? I bet that it was the second one. You had the right skills with the you fit that job perfectly among a lot of candidates. That's why you got hired. So that is the case with H-1B. So the H-1B cannot be controlled by the candidate, whether he's upper caste, lower caste, he's a Punjabi, South, North. It is controlled by the employer. So if you have the skills, if you fit the job profile within the pool of candidates, then the employer can hire you. Plus, the US State Department or the concerned department does not provide any data like the caste-wise data on who's getting these H-1B visas and who's not getting H-1B visas. So these are all in speculation. We cannot, I mean, we can say a lot of things, but we cannot check or ascertain if there is any particular kind of nepotism or anything based on a particular community going on. So based on common sense, what I feel is that this is got.
I think my co-host, oops, the space is getting mute. I'm not muting anyone. So, Deep Sharma, just be careful of your hand. And co-host, just be careful of where your hand is. Maybe it's on your pocket. Anyways, Non-State, can you hear me now? And can you try speaking? Sorry about that disruption.
Yeah, I can hear you. That's okay. That happens. That's okay. So what I was trying to say was that so as far as the giving the H-1B visa is concerned, that I believe is like a search for talent and skill. If you fit the right profile and you get selected, then you make it. I mean, somebody might, like you said, might want to bring in nepotism, or he might feel that my community should get hired or anything. But based on common sense, or what I understand is that you cannot control it. Only the employer controls it, and the employer is purely driven by his profit making.
Got it. I think your point came, but let me answer that. Okay. So your point is that that we cannot be sure that there's no way to say that majority of the people coming in H1B are Hindu Indian nationalists. That's the point, right? So I would say no. We have a way. And I already highlighted to you, it's common sense. If you are born in India, you know that people who have the, first of all, I didn't get an H-1B. To your point, I came on a different visa. Okay, but anyways, the H-1B, like most of the people who have the money to finish engineering education with the top schools in India, and then be able to either come on a study visa or be get hired in the nepotism in hiring in India. We know the hiring managers are all from upper caste, and there's huge nepotism. I gave you my personal example. Leave India, where there is rampant caste discrimination in hiring. I gave you an example of caste discrimination in hiring in US. And if you want, touch base with me, DM me. I will give you the name of the company, and I will have you talk to my friend who is still working there. And if you want, I'm more than happy. I don't know where you live. I can arrange a visit to that company and have you see that floor and tell me, Harjeet, if my words are fake, if anything I said to you is a lie, I will come back non-state and publicly apologize here on this space. Okay, you take my word that way. So I am actually seriously contemplating that particular company I just don't have enough time because I'm active on Twitter, but I'm seriously contemplating lodging some kind of there has to be some authority where I can go and complain against this caste nepotism happening in that company. Okay. So at some point in time, when I have time, I'll do that. But to give you a sense how the Indian state is very protective of its educated, highly skilled diaspora in US because it is of such immense use. If you read, and I'll show you that how this whole people who are coming up highly educated as doctors and engineers. But let me show you before I show you their actual work. Let me show you a comedy somebody created. Okay, and it's a very nice satirical piece somebody created, and it's brilliant. Okay, it's brilliant. Okay, and I'm going to just show you that that how we are basically allowing us to be invaded under the guise of legal immigration. Okay, and here it is that just watch this.
I have the perfect idea, gentlemen. This is how we invade Britain. Tell the General to order 1,000 rubber dinghy boats on Amazon next day delivery. This is how we invade the British and win the war. Sir, the Germans are coming! Hold your fire, men. Those are doctors and engineers. Why aren't they shooting at us? The bloody fools must think we are doctors and engineers. The plan worked. I have the perfect...
Okay, so it's a very short piece, but kind of is very reflective of what's going on, because people like me who are from the software, we can see this, right? We can see this. And again, I'm not saying everybody is an invader, but the fact is that we know it for fact. Like, I kind of showed you the video of this guy, this good number of these highly educated folks who would work for India's intelligence agency, do whatever it takes to undermine America in favor of India, and they don't even have to be paid for it. They don't even have to be paid for it. Okay, and that's a fact. So that is the reason. The moment it is, imagine, like, the moment there is talk of H1B visas being curtailed or legal immigration being touched, because the biggest beneficiary of legal immigration is the upper caste coming from India, the Indian state immediately jumps into picture. You will see the Prime Minister of India talking to putting pressure on the president, that, hey, you shouldn't do anything, but please take all my people, take my best brains, don't stop my best brains from coming to you. Like, have you ever seen, like, any other country indulge in this kind of behavior? Why are they indulging? Why do they want their best brains to come to? Why does the state want their best? I understand the people are persecuted, but why would the state want all this best resources to go in America? It's obviously it is beneficial to the state. They send remittances, and they not only send remittances, this is a real crux. They basically get you the influence, and influence is what is key here. And if you are going to, given I've shown you that how it is that influence which has allowed the Indian state to run death squads on American soil, kill Americans and Canadian citizens, and still nobody in America is even talking about it. Like, I have not seen any big debate. I've not seen any, while Washington Post has published it, New York Times has published it, and I'm pretty sure that is the government and the deep state of America trying to awaken its own people. Guys, we have Indians taking over our country. But, like, still, there's no reaction, because no senator can speak against Israel and India. And I would say in today's world, India's influence is almost as big or even more than Israel, because how many people from Israeli descent, or I don't know, I don't want to comment on their ethnicity, but, like, are there? The Indians are far more, and and they control the tech and finance, and now coming back to Charlie, why I think the Indian state is a legitimate suspect in this, because Charlie was turning against the Indian state, and he had started questioning legal immigration. He had started questioning the events that happened in Gaza, and the role of the probable collusion of the Israeli government, and in letting that terrorist act take place and creating an excuse to then for it to go and murder, like, thousands of Palestinians. A conservative public figure like Charlie Kirk taking that line, man, that would have meant a death knell to the Israeli and Indian influence within US. That would have been a huge setback for them. So it does create a motive. Does it mean that they did it? No. Does it mean I have a smoking gun? No. What I'm saying is that, hey, these are people who are currently killing people in US for talking against them. They have the motive. So why should they not be suspect? At least the FBI should investigate. And lo and behold, another thing. Now we have facts coming out, and this is a very nice article. This is done by Seth Abramson, and he has done a running. And let me just share my screen. So we have our FBI, quote unquote FBI, who is basically, I don't know whether we should call it Federal Bureau of Investigation or Patel Bureau of Investigation, because I was talking to somebody couple of days back, and he told me, Harjeet, another, I don't know, like, I don't like to talk about the color of the skin of the people, but, like, let's say Caucasian official in FBI. Okay, the guy who told me the story, he's a very well-known political activist in US. He confided to me that, Harjeet, I have spoken to a very senior Caucasian FBI official who was my good friend, and he admitted to me that, hey, my friend, in all these years of my service, by the time I came in last 5 6 years, I have started feeling that I am being getting discriminated against by the Indian lobby within FBI. That almost every second, third major role within FBI is monopolized by Patels. I don't know if that's true, but somebody told me the story. I would love to get some data on how many Patels are running FBI, and and then here is this. Lo behold, I don't trust Kash Patel. You can call me biased. Yes, I am biased. I don't trust any upper caste Indian to be loyal to America. Period. Lower caste, yes, but there are very few lower castes which make to India, like they make to US. Upper caste Indian, by default, to me, he is a pro-Indian, Hindu nationalist. I don't trust any word that comes out of their mouth, and this is a running tally of the deliberate, what you say, bumblings that the FBI has conducted. Kash Patel's FBI has conducted in the investigation of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and we're going to read them. Okay, and I'm going to verbatim read them. Number one, arrested a suspect on scene for obstruction of justice, and then let Utah Valley State University officials and national media wrongly tell the public that this arrest was of the shooter without correcting that misinformation for over an hour. So they basically first told he's the shooter, misinformed us. Then number two, detained a second suspect merely for interrogation, then allowed Utah Valley State University officials and national media to wrongly tell the public that this arrest was of the shooter without correcting that misinformation for several hours. Number three, posted to the official social media feed of FBI Director Kash Patel a false claim that the shooter was in custody, which misinformation had to be retracted. Number four, allowed Patel to post about this case as it was ongoing in the first instance, which is inconsistent with FBI protocols, which send all comms through the special agent in charge on scene who briefs the media at regular intervals on camera. Number five, accidentally released a preliminary internal investigative document, the type of investigative work product called an FBI bulletin, known to include errors, guesses, raw intel, and even rumor and speculation, and which therefore is never released to the public. In so doing, falsely telling the public that some ammunition thought to be involved in the shooting of Charlie Kirk is engraved with pro trans and pro Antifa slogans. So, it's mind boggling. Number six, informed the media that only two fuzzy CCTV videos of a person of interest were in the possession of the FBI. Only 2 hours later, admit the FBI was in possession of an extremely high definition video of the same person, thereby undermining the credibility of FBI releases, raising doubts about why this later video continues to be withheld, and giving amateur internet sleuths ample time to create AI generated increased resolution images of this person of interest that may not resemble the person at all but have now flooded the internet. Again, failed to shut down air traffic departing at local airport, one that is 5 minutes from the crime scene. Number eight, failed to shut down air traffic from a regional airport, 45 minutes from the crime scene. Number nine, failed to issue reward information or ask for public assistance or provide a photo of any legitimate person of interest until many hours after the assassination. Okay, so it's total, how many? It's too long. It's around 17 items. We've just read 11 of them, not 11, 10 of them. And so we're not going to read. My throat will kind of go bad if I read so much. Yeah, non-state, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Rajesh. And so I just wanted to start by giving you a compliment. You have a good voice, a voice like a radio jockey. So you can do a lot of good if you want to. So I have a request. I see a lot of anger I mean, where I live, probably, I mean, most of North America against all these. So the general feeling is that people are coming into our country and taking our jobs. And this is getting repeated again and again on internet. And this paranoia is spreading. And we are starting to see this have real world manifestations like violence, which is not needed. Okay, so what you can do, or people like you who have a platform and who are brown skinned can do is that don't be very cautious while speaking about immigration, because when Americans look, when I'm talking about Americans, I mean Caucasian, white or black, Protestant, Christian, born and raised in America. Okay, when these people look at us, they see just one. They do not have to differentiate between Indians from South or North or Punjab or somebody else, somebody with a headscarf or somebody not with a headscarf. I mean, to them, we are all the same. I mean, I'm sorry, it sounds racist, but when at the end of the day, that's the truth, okay? So spreading paranoia about immigration is not good. So we have to be very cautious, because ultimately this is going to affect all of us and our children and their future. So we have to be very mindful and be very reassuring. So we are in this land, in this new land. We have to work with the society. I mean, we have to co-opt them, or we have to work with them, gel with them, and not be a problem, be a productive part of the society. And this message should go again and again through our platforms. Because while we are fighting with each other, if we try to spread this hate is going to come back and eat all of us. So that's what I wanted to tell you, okay?
Yeah, no, great point, great point. So I think one thing that you've really kind of bought it, and it's great points you're making. But here are some aspects of what you're talking about that you probably are missing. So first of all, there is definitely an anger against excessive immigration that we are seeing in Canada, in US, in Europe, in UK. Now, US have had immigration all the time. It's a country of immigrants. Canada had so many immigrants, but there was never any backlash. Like suddenly now we have this backlash, and we have this kind of concern that hey, we have too many people. And if you actually are objective, you will see where are these too many people coming from. They are not coming from Middle East. They are not. Syria was totally destroyed. How many Syrians are we seeing crossing the border? Nada. Ukraine is getting destroyed. How many Ukrainians are running into Western countries? Hardly any. Afghanistan, how many Afghanis gone? God, yeah, we got them, some of them. So all this sudden influx, there has been, we have to admit, it's a noticeable. You don't even need numbers. You can see it with your eyes. Suddenly you go to a tech company, finance company, you go to a grocery store, like this all, where is it coming from? And if I am a Caucasian or an American, and I'm suddenly seeing this sudden inflow of foreigners from one very particular country, and who are now changing my way of life, and this, it will create a kind of concern. And so this imbalance, and who is sending all these immigrants here? Who is sending? Is this happening organically? If this was happening organically, then why are we, this immigration would have happened, this backlash would have happened 20 years back, 30 years back. It is not organic. It is the Indian state which is pumping in factories of legal as well as illegal and immigrants, and pushing them across the borders. Legal and illegal both means. So the real problem is not the people. I'm not blaming the people. It is the actions of the Indian state which we have to factor in. And they have now created a social problem within the Western society, where we might have a racial backlash, which is actually going to undermine the Western civilization and society. And lo behold, non-state actors, I can tell you from my experience and what I know of the Indian agencies and their sinister plans, they want a racial backlash. They are pumping all these Indians into US, Canada, and then they are using the same people to anger the local population so that there is a backlash. Because if there is a, let us say there's a race riot in US is done. What standing US will have left to lecture countries like India on human rights and anything? This is the wet dream of Indian agencies and their masterminds, that they can pump in millions of Indians into US, create a racial backlash, and then basically, in Hindi we say Chetvi Meri or Patvi Mera. Okay? So what you have to worry about is not people like me who are spreading awareness of what's going on. What you really should do is to start criticizing the Indian state and talk about what they are planning to do right in front of your eyes and what they are doing. And what I'm telling you is absolutely true. So we have to stop that. We don't have to let because if we suppose I shut up, the Indian state will be 100% successful in its aims, what it's trying to do. It's not going to stop to create a racial backlash. You look at these guys, many of these, you know, Indians who have just migrated, and I'm not saying Indian generally, I say Indian nationalists who have just migrated to US, you will see them in conservative spaces, white spaces, spreading the cause of white nationalism. There was this huge conference happening on rise of nationalism in which all the white nationalists were getting together. You know who was the one of the keynote speakers there? He was head one of the main figures of RSS, R Madhavan, the political party which is in charge of India. He was there teaching and preaching white nationalism. What was he trying to do? So yes, what I am doing, I'm perfectly aware. I'm perfectly aware of the plans of the Indian agencies and the state, and I am countering it with truth, not with falsehood. Anyways, Jose, you had your hand raised. Go ahead. Or Jose, I don't know what the.
Yeah, Jose is fine. But no, I just want to push back on non-state. We actually do know a lot. Us white people, we actually do know a lot about South Asians, right? We know the difference between Urdu, Hindi, and Bangla, right? Like, I feel like you're not saying that you're saying that we're dumb and ignorant on South Asians, and that's absolutely not the case. Especially since so many have come into our country. You know what I mean? Like we meet so many. You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, yeah, we do know the differences, right? So, and I wanted to say that, and then number two, Harjeet, you're making some good points. I didn't understand how much the Indian state itself is culpable in this, but I would like to push back and say that also corporations, they get these H-1B1 visas and they use these Indians as pretty much as slave labor, and then they kick them out. Like they don't stay here. You know what I'm saying? And they take that money back to India. Is one thing. It's just one factor in the overall what you were saying that you should consider.
Yeah. I'll tell you like why I say that Indian state is the main driver. Okay. And I'm just I don't know whether you can see uh, the live stream. I'm kind of sharing a PowerPoint there, and I'm sharing my screen there. If you can watch the live stream, right now I'm showing there. Like an article which came out in Gujarat, training camps for illegal US crossovers. Okay. And I actually got this confirmed that what is the level and scale of this. There are actually training camps. Okay, so Gujaratis, for your knowledge, like they are not known for particularly their physical fitness. You won't find these training camps in Punjab because people can run and walk. But in Gujarat, it's a very prosperous state, and people generally are, city dwellers, and all of them are planning to cross illegally into US. So they have to do this whole walk and journey, right? They might have to walk for miles. So they have training camps there. How to, so they're doing physical prep with their families and kids and grandfathers and whatnot. These are training camps, how you will cross it. And these training camps, I can tell you, are not running without you can't have a training camp like this in India without the Indian agencies giving you a go ahead. So these training camps are running with their know-how, with their, I would say, support. Then another thing I showed to you was that there is a full, and we have two planes on which we have record two full plane loads of people who were bought. The planes were brought down in forcibly landed, not brought down, forcibly landed in France. Not a single passenger on that plane was a genuine passenger. Everybody was going to Latin America to then illegally cross. The plane took off from Delhi, a Russian aircraft, some unknown Russian airliner. So I won't believe, I have no doubt that all that plane cannot have taken off from Delhi without the approval of Indian agencies. Okay, so that's why I say, and then you see how the Indian government gets super sensitive the moment anybody talks about touching the H1B visas and like controlling them. And then you see the reaction of all these there is this foundation here called Hindu America Foundation. Let me pull that up. It's one of the most overtly it's basically nothing but a foreign agency. It's just always bad for India. And it's amazing, like our system, we live in a free society, so it's fine. But so there's a Hindu American Foundation, and it'll openly propagate that we need more legal immigration. And Jose, like, it's unfortunate, but like the fact remains that even till first, second, third generation, this Indian or Hindu nationalism doesn't go out of these people who come from subcontinent. Look at the example of Kash Patel. His father still doesn't have US citizenship. He could have had US citizenship way back. He's holding on to his Indian passport. Why? So Kash Patel grew up in that household where father is a die-hard patriot of India. Okay, while we talk, my space seems to have dropped off. Let me see if my space is still running. Amazing that I don't see my Twitter space. Did the Twitter space drop? Wow. If the Twitter space did drop, that will tell you, okay, yeah, the Twitter space dropped automatically. Amazing. Let me just restart the Twitter space, okay? It's just amazing. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I was surprised the space fell off. Like, I don't know why.
ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆਣ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਖਿੱਚਣ ਡਿਆ ਸੀ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੇਸ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨ ਡਿਆ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਟਿਆ ਬਾਹਰ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਆਣੇ
No, but if people are reporting the space, why should people be thrown out of the space? They should be allowed to enter the space, right? I don't know.
I don't know. ਕੋਈ glitch ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕੋਈ glitch ਹੋਵੇ.
Yeah, no, we know that this whole Twitter is a compromised platform. Like, unfortunately, it is kind of totally infiltrated by the Indian state agents, and we'll talk about that. I'll show you some evidence why I say so. I'm not joking that it is infiltrated by the Indian state agents, and but hopefully, Amrish Padi, you were enjoying the conversation, and what about it?
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੀ conversation ਤੁਹਾਡੀ. That was great information.
ਉਹ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਭਾਜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਪਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਆਏ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਆਪੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਿਟ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਸਪੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਦੀ ਪਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਕਰਤਾ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਲਿਸਟ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਫੋਲੋਇੰਗ ਅਪ ਸੀਗੀ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆਪੇ
I think Ajit
US.
and happening with multiple spaces across Twitter. So this is not
Besides reporting, there's just too many glitches. Like Harjeet was speaking, but the last I don't know 3, 4, 5 minutes we couldn't hear Harjeet, but he was still live on his screen share, and that was working perfectly fine. I started talking to Jose. He was saying, "Oh no, the Indian government can't have that much control because the H-1Bs are controlled by the corporation." And I'm like, bro, you're not connecting the dots. The Indians have infiltrated the HR department, so they're in control of it. And right then and there, he was like, "Oh wow, I don't see." He kind of agreed. He didn't see that perspective, and the spaces ended right away. So you were still speaking, Arjit, but we couldn't hear you. So I wanted to keep the
Oh,
conversation going.
wow. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's just yeah, it's kind of strange. Yeah, we can start. I think most of the people are kind of coming back. Non-state is also back. I think I love non-state. I think he just asks so many good questions. I think because these are very very important questions to answer. Because those are obvious questions to ask, right? And it's important that they are answered properly and with logic, and then let people make up their mind. What where the truth is. Um, but I have no doubt in my mind that that I have no doubt in my mind that the Indian state is very sensitive about countries having constant access or pipeline or ability to pump Indian nationalists, immigrant into West, and it's top notch priority for them. And if you are going to do, and we know by India's track record of having conducted terror acts on American soil and Canadian soil, that they have death squads which are running um, uncontrolled, unchecked, I have to say, unfortunately, and that they have the means to silence anybody who they think could be of threat to this, to their main, what you say, ability to constantly gain influence within West. Okay, now if you can see my screen, this is like this. These are just mind-boggling numbers. Okay, number of approved H-1B visa applications. 74% are from India. Okay, 74. It's just mind-boggling. Okay, and this is a rigged system. Okay, the whole H-1B has been rigged by the Indians, and within that, it has been rigged by their upper caste. That I have seen. So, so it's kind of very strange. I think India. Another thing that I kind of wonder is that I think, and we might be wondering to. Let me just uh, change the heading here. Indian government death squads hashtag Charlie Kirk. Okay. So, another thing that I was I just skipped my mind. What I was going to tell you was that huh, yeah, I just skipped my mind. Rich, you have anything to add? Well, at some point I wanted to make it, just skipped my mind. Yeah. Rich, can you hear me? Sanatanji, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ajit, but yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me just kind of also show you certain other videos. Okay, I think which will be of immense. Another one I think I'm getting worried about is Senator Eric Schmidt, because he is one of the very few senators who has publicly questioned, H-1B visa. And here is what he talks about. Okay, let me just open this up. Where is it gone? Let me just play this thing.
The old conservative establishment may have opposed something like illegal immigration on procedural grounds, simply because it was illegal. But they took no issue with it in substance. If the same thing was achieved through legal avenues, many of them would celebrate and support it. At this point, it should be clear that the fact that something is sanctioned by our government doesn't mean it's good for our country. That much is obvious with various forms of legal immigration today. For decades, we heard that so-called high-skilled immigration was an urgent necessity. The H-1B visa, for example, was sold as a way to keep America globally competitive. Of course, we do have an interest in attracting the truly exceptional few, the very best and the brightest in the world. But that's not how programs like H-1B have actually functioned. Instead, they've imported a vast new labor force from abroad, not to fill jobs Americans can't or won't do, but to undercut American wages, replace American workers, and transfer entire industries into the hands of foreign lobbies. We've funneled in millions of foreign nationals to take the jobs, salaries, and futures that should belong to our own children. Not because the foreign workers are smarter or more talented, but merely because they're cheaper and more compliant, and therefore preferable in the eyes of too many business elites who often see their own countrymen as an inconvenience. While our trade agreements kneecapped blue-collar workers in a slow-moving disaster decades in the making, abuse of the H-1B program is kneecapping white-collar workers right before our eyes. For the tens of thousands of Americans who were forced to train their foreign H-1B replacements just to get their severance package, the fact that it's legal is of little comfort.
Okay, yeah, I think anybody, like any senator now, with the way
conservative establishment,
the Indian government behaves. Okay, let me show you how many of these, so-called, even the lobby groups that these very now highly paid, highly trained legal immigrants who come in, who are still under the sway of the Indian government. And the biggest one, who are still under the sway of Indian government, and when they form kind of groups, inadvertently they always bat for the Indian state. Okay, and I wonder why. And here is Hindu American Foundation. Let's just go to their Twitter page. This is their Twitter page. And Hindu American Foundation, nothing wrong with having a Hindu American Foundation. Everybody's entitled. We have a freedom of religion. Good for them. But this is when you go, and just go on their Twitter page and just type and search what they write on India. Okay, so let's just see what comes up. And this is not rehearsed. I'm just doing it live. Okay. Here is the very first tweet. Okay, so this Hindu American Foundation will do basically the work of the Indian state in demonizing, in dehumanizing, and in delegitimizing some of the minority groups from India who have migrated and sought asylum in America. So one of the jobs is to constantly kind of take the Indian government line against these persecuted minority groups, and the most prominent among them are the Sikhs. So they will take all their lines will be the same propaganda lines that the Indian state will kind of usher against the Sikhs, or the Sikhs who are, who don't listen to the Indian government. This Hindu American Foundation invariably will always take that particular stance and will amplify that propaganda. Not ever will they question that basic question. Like, for not once, Hindu American Foundation, which constantly tweets about India, what is happening in India, India-America relations, India-Canada relations, not once did they ask the question on their Twitter profile, Why was the Indian government complicit in murdering a Canadian citizen? Not once. On the other hand, they are constantly propagating a foreign government propaganda. Here it is. One of the biggest propagandas of the foreign government, Indian government, is that the Air India 182 bombing was not done by their agents, but was done by some Sikh militants. Here is the first tweet. Okay. Then here is again Hindu American Foundation tweeting propaganda against the Sikh coalition. Okay, all the Sikh, the minority groups persecuted. Here again, there was a truck accident that happened in Florida. The driver was Sikh. He could have been an Indian, but you see how sinister this tweeted. They write, "We are deeply disturbed by the horrific truck accident in Florida caused by a migrant from Punjab, India." And then they say six for justice. They kind of basically they highlight the religion and the ethnicity of that person so that all the anger is diverted towards sex and Punjab. Not it's just very sinister the way they act. Here is another tweet. What job does Hindu American Foundation has to go and fight against the a bill in Californian Assembly? The only thing that the bill does is basically it is teaching law enforcement against transnational crime. So one of the biggest issues with transnational repression, where foreign governments are repressing diaspora groups, here is that the local police authority, they generally don't know what is happening. Some consulate is blackmailing somebody is being blackmailed or being threatened by a foreign government. It's just a program to educate the law enforcement officers on the ground, and it's a bill on that. And Hindu American Foundation is dead against it. Why? Because they know that the country that will get pointed out is India, because India is the country which is number one in transnational terrorism on American soil. So they want to hide the trails, what Indian government has been doing in America. So they will basically openly now work against that bill, and they will give it a spin like this is anti-Hindu, this is Hindu phobia. This is just mind-boggling how this Hindu American Foundation works, and somebody has to call them out. A non-state left, I would love to have seen non-states kind of view on this. What is this view on Hindu American Foundation? Okay, here again Hindu American Foundation propagating this propaganda that Hindu temples are being put graffiti on, being vandalized by the Sikhs. While every time this vandalism has happened, it has come out in New Zealand. It came out that it was the work of local Hindus themselves to create a false flag operation. They will never talk about those stuff, but they'll always amplify. Oh, this temple is being put graffiti on to create a fake victimhood narrative. Okay. Uh, Here again, like they're calling out some of there were some articles which were published around the relationship between Hindu American Foundation and India. So they're basically attacking those agencies. And here again, they are propagating the fake and false propaganda by the Indian state regarding Air India 182 bombing. Here again, batting on behalf of Indian state, trying to, soften US policy towards India. If this is not an Indian agent, what is an Indian agent? Okay, if Hindu American Foundation is not acting like an Indian government agent, God knows what will convince you to say that it's acting like an Indian agent. It's like amply clear. Again, there is a bill to stop or limit caste discrimination, because there is rampant now caste discrimination happening in some of the industries within US, and it's obvious, and and such a poison is entering the free society. It is so sad, but the moment there is any attempts to safeguard people from caste based discrimination, the Hindu American Foundation is at the forefront opposing all those legal bills. Why? Okay, again, like look at this, like this all about attacking anybody who attacks India or the Indian state's policy. Hindu American Foundation will be on the forefront attacking that organization, that individual, that minority group, etc., etc. Like this is like if the CIA does not see Hindu American Foundation as an Indian agent who is basically an open, they use this term in Kashmir called overground workers. Okay, so these are the overground workers of India's RNAW. And it's just amazing that, how brazenly they do this. And maybe one day we will just do a space on Hindu American Foundation and how much propaganda work they do on behalf of a hostile third world state called India, and whether like what we should do about it. I think it's very important. So anyways, I've been speaking on this monologue for quite some time. I think we should be about to wrap the space. Hopefully it was good. Anybody wants to add anything?
Jose, you want to join the spaces if you have any questions?
Sorry, Rich, what did you say? Sorry, I was not able to hear.
I was saying, Jose, if he wants to join this, be a speaker.
Yeah, I can give him the speaker. Let's see. Yeah, Coin is not taking the speaker today. I don't know what happened. Coin generally has a very good idea. Coin has been...
I think there's something wrong with space today. There's a lot of glitches going on. Glitches, without a doubt, they got eyes on you. I know you're well armed, but anyone that's in America, dude, you got to be armed because these people, they have no limits.
Is this are these glitches happening Twitter wide or just our spaces impacted?
No, just the spaces, just these ones. Just this space.
Just this space? Wow.
Yeah. You're
Wow.
making too much sense, Hardeep. You're getting too close. You're exposing too much. What lacks is you lack the attention. If certain big accounts, Westerner accounts with big followings were part of these spaces, I mean, you can expose them in a big way. You are. It's just we lack the eyes, man.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see. Like while we're talking, I'm getting phone calls from some Australian numbers. Like I don't know anybody in Australia. Why? Anyways. ਨਹੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਨਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੜ ਪੱਟਣੀ ਆ ਛੋਟਾ ਜੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰ ਤੇ yeah Jose you're back man anything you want to add Jose based upon like I think you were kind of skeptical whether the Indian state is helping this level of migration, right?
No, I'm not skeptical. In fact, I'm actually kind of interested in your perspective on this stuff. And you pointed out some things that I wasn't even tracking prior to, you holding this space. And I commend you for that. And but I was just saying, like, I don't think it's all the Indian government. I feel like it's more, it's kind of like, because it takes two to tango, right? Like these companies are also profiting off this indentured servitude, right? And like, holding that over their heads, like, hey, if you don't work for me with my cheap wages, I'll just kick you back to India, which they do.
Oh, yes, that's true, Jose. But remember, all these companies have multiple shareholders, all right? That's one thing. And two, say a certain Indian that works with the government, say he came to the U.S. many decades ago, all right? What they have is they have LLCs in America, and they have, say, companies in India. They buy, let's just say they buy the product, meaning, H-1B company, which contracts it with a third party. And what happens is they get a percentage of their job's pay, brother. So every person they're helping employ, they can take 10, 15% of their pay, just like an agent does for a professional player. You know what I'm saying? So why are American-born software engineers, it's like, how the fuck did America build Google and Facebook and all these major companies when there weren't so many H-1B workers, right? How the fuck did they do that? Like, you need them? No, you don't. So what it is like they're profiteering in so many ways, dude. And the thing is, all you got to do is give cheap people a certain amount of money to be quiet or pass certain laws and stay quiet. So, the average American is definitely getting screwed over in a big way. And sadly, the white nationals or white supremacists, whatever, they just hate anyone that ain't white. That's allowed on Twitter, and they're not open-minded to understanding this perspective. And that's kind of sad. So, Jose, for
Yeah,
listening.
I'll just add one thing. I think it's a good point that Jose raised that there's this. I think what he's saying is he's not denying those points. I think what he's saying is he's trying to add like there is this element of profiteering by the corporations as well. So, and that's also playing into the mix. And the question is the degree, right? And which is the driving factor? I would say, Jose, what happened was the initial outsourcing. Okay, the initial outsourcing was, you are right, it was driven by cost cutting and also availability of good talent. But what has now happened is that now we have so much control of these companies, the tech companies itself, who are making the decision makers of H1, how many H1B visas we need, how many jobs we're going to outsource. Invariably, they are also beholden to the Indian state. So go and check like the top positions in these companies, who is holding them. So, and in one decision, you could outsource 100,000 jobs. And so now I think it has become like like a what you call a self-fulfilling kind of it has gained it is at a stage where you don't it's not just the corporate profit, it is other the decision making and the that is happening is not just purely driven by profit, it is driven by other factors as well, while the Indian state is facilitating on from its side. So I don't disregard it, the corporate profit, but there is like a finer, and now I remember the finer nuance I wanted to bring. This is my experience. I think nothing against people coming from India. I think they're good workers, hard workers. Um, but I do think that the system of education, I think this excessive takeover of tech by people coming who have got trained in the Indian educational system, which is famous for churning out clerks and people with linear thinking, it has taken away the technological edge that United States had over other countries. When is the last time you have heard a mind from India having done a breakthrough like Amazon, setting up an Amazon or a Google or something? You will generally see them becoming CEOs, or you will see them, hey, you will have these people saying, hey, I sold 10 companies and I became a multimillionaire. Like, is that an entrepreneur? Is that an innovator? Basically, you are a scamster. You basically created a hype around something, sold it to somebody, and just made money out of it. You didn't create jobs. And not everybody's like that, obviously, but my experience is that just and that includes me. Okay, the educational system in India is such, it creates diligent workers, but it does not create risk takers and innovators. So now with such a large population, there's hardly any diversity left in tech and finance. There's such a large population having come from that particular background where everybody's trained in linear thinking, being non-risk taker, being just a slave kind of a worker. We don't see the level of innovation and risk taking that is required in these industries to maintain the innovational edge. And the real value, the real growth is actually in innovation. It is not in capital, it is not in resources. If you talk to the economists, they'll tell you the real value, that edge, comes from innovation. And we have lost that edge, and today Chinese are ahead of us. And I think to a great extent we have to blame this H1B policy. Yeah, Jose, go ahead.
No, yeah, you're making some very good points, especially when you're talking about how, they're using the Indians as pretty much as slave workers and not innovators, right? But I will say, though, that, I feel like it was the corporations, they created this opportunity, and then the Indian government exploited this and took advantage of it to gain that power to bring the Indians and take that sector over. Still, like, there's a lot of blame to go on the corporations. And also, when we're talking about shareholders, I mean, who are these shareholders? Like, what are their last names? It's probably Weinstein, Epstein. So the Israeli component also has to be taken into consideration, especially when you think that, you know, the Israelis, they push the DEI. They're the ones who want to replace, you know, the white population in these countries because they hate whites. I mean, let's just be honest here. So we have to put all these things, all these contributing factors together to get the full picture, right? So we have all the pieces to the puzzle. Is all I'm asking.
No, absolutely, absolutely. There are these pieces, but to give you more sense, okay, um that this phenomena of like Indian government taking advantage of it is not new. Okay, they have been taking advantage of it. The moment they got any advantage, they never left an inch. And I was talking to, like somebody who is maybe 15, 20 years elder to me. Also, I'm around 44, so you're talking about somebody who's 65, 70, and he's been a long time immigrant, a Sikh, and I asked him, okay, Paji, tell me, like, we see all these people who are totally brainwashed into Indian nationalism, and they are taking American passports, and they are not loyal, many of them, and they want to undermine America, and like, was it always like that? And the answer invariably, and I am quoting you one person, but this I've gotten from multiple people. Invariably, I've got is they tell me, Harjeet, this is nothing new. When I came in, that guy this is like 50 years back, he said I came in. And the person who came along with me was an Indian nationalist. And the moment he landed there, he used to openly tell me that now it is our turn to get even with the white man. So there is this deep, if you talk to, if you even hear their national discourse in India, okay, and you ask them and you tell people in India, like, hey, why is your country poor? Why don't you guys, stay back and improve your country? Why are you coming here? The answer, if they are truthful to you, they'll say, hey, no, we are back because it is our right to be here now because you guys took away all our money, because you looted everything. We were the richest and the greatest and everything. You took all our technology, you took all our money, and now we are here. Now we have the right to be here because we are poor, because you took everything. So now you can't object to us coming here and leeching off you like vampires. So, and when I tell them, okay, somebody took everything from you, they left you like 75 years back. So I say, no, it was like, we were like, it was too much, $53 trillion or $5,300 trillion were looted from us. And then we say, okay, fine. What about like these countries like Germany, who didn't have a single building left after World War II? They were able to reconstruct themselves in like 20 years and be back on the world map. Look at Japan, which got hit by a nuclear bomb. Look at Indonesia, Vietnam, Chinese. Like, you were special, that you were specially decolonized, that you couldn't. But then they will come with other kind of argument. But the thing kind of ends up is there is this deep hatred, okay, hate for the non-Indian, or I would say to even to non-Hindu, okay, which we Sikhs experience all the time, and now the Western society is experiencing. Yeah, non-state, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to say that, you just made a point that, generally I do agree with you that, the concept of whole immigration into the United States or any country should be very responsibly handled, and that should be decided by that state to the sole benefit of that state alone, okay? And it should not be by any other agenda. That I agree with. But I just want to challenge you on one point. Okay? Just said that, the Indian Americans who come there do not add any jobs, or they don't create jobs. That is not entirely accurate as per data. Okay, so the big businesses started by people of Indian origin who have become Indian Americans are not in the top 10, job providing companies like, Walmart or Amazon. But still, there are huge companies like Zscaler. Zscaler, I think, is like market cap is like 17.9 billion or something. It started by one Mr. J. Chowdhury. Okay, and it is a cybersecurity provider, and almost all the big businesses in the US are their customers. And there is the Khosla Ventures. It's a VC firm. they promote and they fund a lot of startups in US. So new ideas, new business ideas who want to start businesses, they get funding from them. That's like a 7 billion company. Then there is Symphony AI. So Trump administration's one of the biggest push is to make US in the leader of AI field. They want to compete with China and beat China in AI. So there are a lot of Indian Americans who are contributing towards that with their own ventures, like Symphony AI. Then there is, there are a lot of other companies, Rajiv Jain, Rakesh, and plus, there are all these Indian origin executives like Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai. I mean, we can say that they are also employees. They are not actually businessmen. But the thing is that these guys do not get any salary like we do. They have something called as a performance-linked pay. So if the company's market cap is like 2 billion, Sundar Pichai gets paid at the end of the year in one big sum only if he is able to take their market cap from 2 billion to 2.5 or 3 billion. So they are in effect business people on themselves, and they create jobs in the course of pursuing profit for the company. So it is generally not a healthy thing to say that Indian Americans as a group do not create jobs or they don't add any value to US. If they were not adding value to US, I don't think US will have them. I know very successful business people, who are like millionaires, but throughout their life, like 24 years, 25 years, 30 years, they live on a green card. They do not get a citizenship at the end of it. And after that, after 20, 25 years after they still with their professional world, they come back to India. You see, so America, what I understand is that US particularly only keeps those people who give any value addition to their societies. Otherwise, they just send them back. So it is not correct to say that, people of Indian origin do not create jobs.
Okay, great. I know Jose hand raised. Keep this in mind. Jose, go ahead. First, why don't you tag enough? Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, I just want to respond. Trust me, I know full well about the hatred towards white people. Like me and my girlfriend, she's from Bangladesh, and this isn't a Hindi specific thing. I feel like it's a South Asian thing. Like she hates white people as well, despite me being white. But like I hear these arguments all the time, so I know full well what you're talking about. But the thing is like a lot of these attitudes, though, I don't feel it's like endemic. I feel like these are like inherited opinions that came from a different country that starts with an I called Israel.
Yeah. And I'll just answer the non-states point, and we'll come to this, why this hate between the Indian nationalist mind against anything which is Western or white, or non-Hindu, that sense. It's not just towards white. It's about, it's about the non-caste people, okay? And it's the same hate as you'd see against the lower caste as well in India. And it's a level of hate you probably can't even fathom. But anyways, the not about regarding your thing, right? That you're saying that because Indian employees are becoming CEOs, and because CEOs are increasing the market cap, so they are creating jobs. No, that's a false assumption. Market cap has no link to number of jobs you are creating in America. So in fact, if anything, it is inversely correlated in today's world. So if I am a CEO of a big company, if I outsource all the American jobs to India, my profit, my bottom line might actually improve by almost 100% because I'm taking half of the cost of the employee in India. So I'm actually incentivized, and my market cap will shoot up next day because the market cap is not looking at the number of employees I have. It is looking at the cost of the employees. So my market cap will shoot up. So that's why you see the Indian CEOs of Google, Microsoft, they're actually outsourcing in large numbers, saying, look, market cap will go up. And now they're actually incentivized. They're all Indian nationalists. It's a double whammy. Like all these guys, by becoming CEOs, we are basically creating an ecosystem where you will have no tech job left for an American. And that's literally the situation right now. And then the jobs which are left in America, they basically then sponsor all these H-1B visa, and they get all these millions of people, whatever is the leftover jobs, and those are also taken. So today, the tech industry, even within US, is totally dominated by people with one ethnicity. There is no diversity. There is no diversity. And within that, also by a caste group, which is just 5% of the population in India. I give you an example. And so these guys, and this is very, very, and this leads to death of innovation. Because innovation thrives when you have diversity of opinion, when you have people who are trained to be risk takers. So you don't see any innovation. The companies you name, like finance company is not an innovator. VC is not an innovator. Like VC is not creating jobs. VC is just is basically just pumping money. Yeah, if the VC has created a company which has just like, which is, I can say it's the next Microsoft, Google, I will take it. But given the number of tech professionals who are from one ethnicity today in Silicon Valley, I would say it's almost 60%. I should see at least one Google. The names you took, I had to Google them to even figure out which are these names. So I won't buy it. I think it's not like it's just a total. I think it's at worst the worst way. The excessive immigration of people from one ethnic background, that too in a British colonial educational system, which is totally linear thinking, which doesn't value equality of human beings, which values caste system, caste discrimination. It has totally destroyed our innovation and our tech industry and our finance industry. It has made many of these people who came in millionaires and billionaires, but in net, America has lost. And then over and top of these guys are creating these groups like Hindu American Foundation and acting as the agents of this foreign hostile government and letting that government run death squads on our soil and murder and kill everyone or anyone who basically questions that government. This is a lose deal, which is the biggest national security threat facing Western civilization, way bigger than Russia and China, if we really are objective about it. Go ahead, Rich.
Also, all the data that is sent to India, our finances, our social security, date of birth, all that goes to India. I had started a business and I opened up a Chase business account, and guess what? All my information that was being verified was in India, in Bombay. I spoke to them, hey, what state are you in? This, that, blah, blah, blah. They would tell me. And obviously you can just tell by the accent. So imagine you speaking a certain way, they dox you to figure out who you are. All of a sudden they're creating credit cards in your name with your social security. How is that going to screw you over? They're not killing you, but they can drain you financially. And if someone's going to lose a bunch of jobs, say if they do go against the H-1B and they start tariffing jobs that are out of the States, I mean, can we imagine how that's going to hurt us because of all our information that's gone? And see, non-safe, to see your point of view that certain CEOs are, increasing the market cap of a corporation, they're only doing that because jobs are going out of the States. That's decreasing the company's expenses, and shareholders value that because they're getting more dividends, so the market cap goes up. But you got to understand there's less dollars within the States, even though one corporation may profit. If those same citizens in the U.S. were earning jobs and money in the U.S. from the U.S. corporation, they would be spending money going to restaurants or buying a car or buying a home in the U.S. That would make the economy as a whole better in the U.S. So that money is going out of the States, so it actually hurts us.
Man, I'm so happy. I'm so happy this space. I'll tell you. Look, I've been thinking, man, like I saw this caste discrimination, what's going on in this tech industry. How do I tell people what's happening? And it's not in my current company, honestly. This is one I saw in this other company which I worked in, and I was looking for avenues how I report that data. And somebody has contacted me who seems to know what is to be done with that data. So while we are at, thank you everybody for dialing in, because apparently with you sitting in, it kind of raised some attention, and that person just DM'd me, and looking at his profile, it seems he knows how to leverage that data to get some action going around it. So I'm going to share that, whosoever the gender, I'm not going to take his name, but I'm going to share, the entire data I have on that particular company with them, which is awesome. So this is one good thing that came out of the, like, man, I used to think, am I wasting my time on Twitter? But I'm getting convinced maybe not. Like, things do move here. Anyways, there are a couple of hands raised. We'll go to Jose, then Chota, then non-state. Jose, go ahead.
No, yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, you guys are making a very compelling case, especially the part about like a lot of that money is getting taken out and sent to India. I mean, this is a verifiable fact. I've looked it up. But also, like, it's still a little bit is on the CEOs of these companies, though. They're the ones who created this opportunity for India to exploit. So, like, we have it on both ends. Is the only thing I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They got the initial CEOs got taken. Now the CEOs are all for one ethnicity. Yeah, I'm Chota. Go ahead.
I will say Sidhu Moosewala and Charlie Kirk, we can put them in same category.
Yeah.
They got killed by Indian regime. I will say, for speaking the truth. They
Yeah,
saw the same thing in Charlie Kirk and the same thing in Moosewala.
yeah. That's a great point. I am Chota. Like, that's a great point, right? So I think the point he's making is, and not many people might know what he's talking about here. So the Indian state murdered a very, very popular young upcoming Sikh singer. Okay, he was a rapper and he used to make these songs, and he was getting very popular with the Sikh people in Punjab, and the Indian state was very fearful that because he was writing some songs which was questioning the authority of the state, and he was writing some songs which were also creating bonds between East Punjab and West Punjab, and that was a
I
big
have
money.
to correct you. I have
Yeah.
to correct you here, Paji.
Haji, go ahead.
He wasn't beyond religion. Everybody was listening to him. He was not just limited to Sikh people.
Yeah,
He was so Muslims in Pakistan were celebrating him. Hindus in India, they were celebrating him. He was not just for Sikhs.
that's correct. And they basically killed him, like murdered in broad daylight. And by we know that person who claimed it was basically an Indian agency run gangster, and everybody in India knows who killed him, and they killed him. And Charlie Kirk, I see the similarities, right? Because Charlie Kirk, you might not like him depending upon which side of the political divide you are on, but you cannot deny that he was a power to be reckoned with. He and he was turning towards Israel and India, and he was really going to take them on his, like, if Charlie Kirk kept going against Israel and kept, like, if he was questioning what happened, he was actually reflecting what was in the mind of many conservatives. I'm a conservative, and it was in my mind like, hey, did Israel did it? Like doesn't make sense. And if Charlie Kirk turned that bandwagon, man, that would have meant, to my books, that would have meant that the Israeli influence in US would have taken a huge, if not a fatal blow. Because knowing Charlie Kirk, he would not have stopped there. He would have then gone on with a second example, third. It's like the moment you give somebody a red pill, right? Now it is difficult. Now he will see through things. And then he was also turning against the Indian government by questioning H1B. And if you joined late, if you've seen the earlier part of my presentation, I showed examples of documented cases, court cases, indictments in New York court, the Foreign Interference Commission reports in Canada, that it is known that the Indian government is running death squads on American soil and Canadian soil, targeting and murdering anyone. And I will not just say Indian plus Israeli, and they are doing it in conjunction, in joint partnership, targeting and killing anyone who is saying anything that goes against their interest. Okay, so, and they are doing it with impunity, without any fear, and they have enough influence to get that license. And a big part of that influence, and why we are talking about H1B, is that the big part of that influence is being gained through these legal migrants who have come in these who are doctors and engineers, okay? And I want to play that clip again. Jose, I don't know whether you were there. Have you seen this clip? Somebody made this small satire on doctors and engineers, and let me play that and how good it is. And let me just, where is that gone? Let me pull this up again. And hopefully you get.
How we invade.
Just one sec. Let me restart it. Let me pull the volume. Okay. Let me share my screen with people who are watching. Here you go.
I have the perfect idea, gentlemen. This is how we invade Britain. Tell the General to order 1,000 rubber dinghy boats on Amazon next day delivery. This is how we invade the British and win the war. Sir, the Germans are coming! Hold your fire, men. Those are doctors and engineers. Why aren't they shooting at us? The bloody fools must think we are doctors and engineers. The plan worked. Hey.
It's a simple plan. It's a simple plan, but sometimes, common sense is not common, as they say. And while we talk, we have our friend Ali Hamza kind of joining. Ali Paji sending you a speaker in case you're able to join. And I would love to just chat with you before we go off, because I'm planning another space. we won't repurpose this space, but let's see if Ali Hamza takes the speaker. Ali Hamza is the ex-fighter pilot of Pakistani Air Force and a good friend. We just met on Twitter, and we did a couple of spaces which went viral. And yeah, so glad to see him here. And yeah, I'm getting tired now, guys. I've been speaking nonstop, but I think basically in the nutshell for circling. And Ali Paji, if you want to take speaker, I just want to speak to you 2 minutes. Otherwise, I'll give you a call on your phone after this space, okay? Just to kind of nutshell, kind of cap this up, and we'll close the spaces. There is ample evidence that the Indian state has means to kill anybody in US, which goes against their interest. They have done this in recent past. We have documented evidence of that, and in the recent past we had seen that Charlie Kirk was turning against taking an anti-Israel and anti-India line, and that would have brought him in the direct crosshairs of Indian and Israeli lobby groups, and their modus operandi in recent past has been not to basically to kill these, eliminate. That's the only thing that they know. And they have eliminated anybody who has in US and Canada who has threatened their interests in a big way. And so the question is, what is the chance that if any foreign government had to target was behind Charlie Kirk's killing, and it seems it was a sniper who was well trained. When I look at the video, the way that guy jumped from that 15 feet building down with the bag and ran away, and he seemed like a trained guy. He was not a your next door college kid. There's no way. Even if he was, like, somebody trained him, and he it seems like he was a trained guy. If it was a foreign agency operation, what is the likelihood of India and Israel being behind it? I would say it's a decent hypothesis. It's something that should be explored. It's something that, looking at the sequence of events, cannot be ruled out. Do I have a smoking gun? No. But is it a reasonable hypothesis that we are entitled to talk about? Absolutely yes. We should, because of what is happening and going on for the amount of terrorism that India has perpetrated in Canada and US. With that said, we have Ali Paji. Ali Paji, welcome to the space. I was looking to talk to you about the Qatar issue. And have you been monitoring it? Should we open another space to talk about it, if that's okay? If you are available for half an hour.
Assalamualaikum and Sat Sri Akal, Paji. Hey, I'm sure I just heard that you are were about to sign off, so I'm sorry. I just came at this moment. I think I'm quite late, but I'm available absolutely. And this I agree with your hypothesis 100%. Because in another space, Ali Chishti bhai, he called a Pakistani ambassador. He was an ambassador to Oman and a retired brigadier also. And I gave that point that Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt, they wrote that book, that Israel Lobby in US Foreign Policy. So it does not make any geopolitical or geostrategic sense that why USA is helping Israel. And this book was written in 2007, because that old like excuse that Israel is a military outpost in a oil-rich Gulf region, that does not hold any water anymore. So they said, I'll quote the brigadier, that it's not that simple. It's not only geopolitical. They use Israel as their like kind of a attack dog. So United States, they are striking their back. Israel is striking their back. So it's not simply Israel lobby that is just coercing the US government and helping Israel. And then, if you remember our last talk, in which I asked you about this Indian lobby, like nexus between Indian lobby and Israel lobby. So if like this relationship between Israel lobby and Indian lobby exists, and the Indian like death squads in Canada also, we have talked about Vishnu gang and all that. So it is absolutely a plausible hypothesis. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, no thanks, and it'll be great if the Pakistanis can figure out certain links. You guys have not you per se, but like the Pakistani establishment, and if they can gather some clues, and yeah, that'll be amazing. To help solve this, it's a totally dastardly event the way it happened. Any normal human being will get shocked by the way it was done. And anyways, I think we are almost wrapping up. Ali Paji, I'll give you a call. I definitely wanted to run another space, and depending upon how you are feeling, we'll probably run that on what's happening in Qatar. I think that's another geopolitical event, and there's so much to learn from that. The mini beating Qatar took, and it kind of now makes me look at the Dur in new light. Okay, and I'm like, okay, what if it was Pakistan in Qatar's space? Like Qatar had better equipment, everything, but they kind of failed, right? So we'll talk about that more. Anyways, so thank you everybody for the time. I hope thank you for being here for such a long period of time. I appreciate you dialing in. It's a very important matter. Please educate people more about it, and please tell your fellow patriots. India is no friend. The Indian state has been running death squads on our soil. Nobody has been talking about it. It is high time we talk about it. How many killings they will do before it will become a national outrage? Canada, look at Canada, what's going on in Canada. It's just mind boggling. Anyways, thank you, everybody.